Good morning, everybody. This is the Wednesday, August 28th, 2024 morning session of the Portland City Council. Keelan, good morning. Please call the roll.
Morning. Gonzalez.
Here.
Knaps.
Here.
Rubio. Here. Ryan.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. We'll hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. Individuals may testify for 3 minutes unless the presiding officer states otherwise. Your microphone will be muted when your time is over. The presiding officer preserves order. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations, will not be allowed. If you cause a disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony should address the matter being considered. When testifying, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. If you are a lobbyist, identify the organization you represent. Virtual testifiers should unmute themselves when the council clerk calls your name. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Let's jump right into communications. First up, item 739, first individual, please.
Request of Allison Rockwell to address council regarding a story. Allison Rockwell? I don't think they've arrived.
That's too bad. I was kind of curious what that one was about. Next individual, please, item 740.
Request of Diana Stewart to address council regarding why Keller Reimagination proposal is best proposal for Portland. They canceled their request.
All right, very good. 741.
Request of Brad Perkins to address council regarding Northeast Quadrant Central City planning.
No, Brad?
Doesn't look like it.
All right. We're on a roll. Any guesses on the next one? Item number 742.
Request of Injured and Pissed Off to address council regarding eviction.
I see him here. Good morning, sir.
I'll sit in this chair. My name's Injured and Pissed Off, and I had spoke at the Multnomah County Library 6 days ago, the 22nd a.m. session, 9:30 in the morning, and they were supposed to accommodate me on my speech after they'd refused to accommodate me at the first session 2 weeks before that, and then they canceled the one that was after that. And then I was able to speak at the board meeting, and it's online. I had to go in the building, and there was text there to help me with signing up to the deal, and I'm so blind that I couldn't even see the screen, the laptop, and what they wrote on the screen was laptop instead of my name, and then it was all black. Luckily, I guess they left the microphone on, but I'd sent a video of a security person for the building that I took video of and sent to the ACLU. And I explained it at the end of the video that some woman had chased me down in the library. Well, actually, there was an old Goodwill store across the street. And I was crossing the street and she started talking, saying that she'd been to previous meetings and I was trying to get away from her and she finally, after I came out of the restroom, gave me a piece of paper with her name and address and this explains, there was a note I took a picture of at my building and it says September 24th, we are to be conducting the yearly inspections. I'm giving all the advance notice. I can't quite read the rest of this. I was with the police chief being here, showing somebody there the letter that Tom, that the mayor had wrote sometime in August or January 16th of 2007 about my dog attacks of my service animal. And I was explaining that on using Google as a search engine, if you write Willamette Week uninvited guest, it comes up with this article at the very top of it, Google. And then if you also use Google and type hall monitor, a few loud men, it comes up with a second Mercury newspaper article that they printed about me.
All right, and I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap it up. We're about 40 seconds over now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
This is done then.
It's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry.
Next individual, item 743.
Mayor, may we take a short recess? We're having trouble in Zoom with the audio. Can we take just a couple minutes to
Yeah, of course.
troubleshoot
We're
it?
in recess.
Thanks. test. Ah, okay.
Good to go. All right, everybody, we're back in session. I think we were at 7:43,
Yes.
weren't we, Keelan?
Yes.
All right, 7:43, please.
Thank you. Request of Kate Walker to address council regarding sustainable transportation. Kate Walker? Doesn't look like they're here.
All right, and do you want to call the names of the prior ones
Yeah.
again, just to see if anybody showed up?
Yeah, absolutely. Allison Rockwell. Brad Perkins. Kate Walker.
All right, very good. With that, could we quickly go to the consent agenda? Have any items been pulled off consent?
No items have been pulled.
Please call the roll on the consent agenda.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Naps,
Aye.
Rubio,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Wheeler.
All right, the consent agenda is adopted. First time certain, oh, God, 1 minute short, hang on. Story of my life.
There we go.
All right, on the top, the workstations, it's now 9:45. First time certain item, please, 744.
Accept the 2023 annual report of the Portland Police Bureau.
All right, thank you, Chief Day, for being present today to present the Portland Police Bureau's 2023 retrospective annual report. Welcome, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning. Morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. Somebody's gonna run a PowerPoint for me. Look at that, it's already up, so I much appreciate that. I don't know who's pushing that magic button, but thank you so much for the help with that. It's not lost on me that we're sitting here a couple of days before September 2024, and we're talking about 2023. It's a little bit frustrating to me, and I can assure you that the 24 report will be done in a much more timely fashion as we cross over into the new year. But I did want to take some time and appreciate and reflect on some of the accomplishments in 23, of which, of course, many of you were leading in, and show appreciation for that. So I will try and also intersperse kind of where we are today as we move relatively quickly through this report. And I'll be reminding us that the numbers are in comparison to 22 and not in 23, not related to 23, 24. So also want to remind us that, I took this assignment just to be about a year ago next month. So much of the good work completed in 2023, I want to give credit to Chief Lavelle and for his leadership and for the team that was in place prior to my arrival. Chuck has stayed on, as you know, as one of my assistant chiefs, trusted advisor, good friend. I rely on his counsel regularly, and I want to make sure he gets credit for the good work that was done in 23. And I really had a chance the end of that year and into this year just really build upon that, and I'm appreciative of that. So let's go ahead and go to the PowerPoint. We can go to the next one. When I came on board, I established 3 goals towards the end of 23 that have been governing us in 2024, and that is that we transform the dynamic between the police and people we serve, that we reduce crime and the fear of crime, and we focus on organizational growth and development. So those 3 goals have been governing where we've been going since I took office in the fall of 23. And they're not too far off where work was already being done in 23. So I'm going to try and tie that in together. These 3 goals are intended to be active. They're not passive. All of them require us to do something. That's why I use the words, the dynamic between police and people we serve, that we actually need to do something. This isn't about just wishful thinking, but it's actually about taking action and reducing crime, and then our organizational growth and development. Let's start with a few accomplishments. Next slide, please. So in regards to that relationship between the police and the people we serve, some of the things you'll notice that are significant. We were able to complete a body-worn camera project at the end of 2023. It was a pilot project. We did it for 90 days. After a lot of review and a lot of support from this council, I'm pleased to say that we are now almost in the final stages of implementing body-worn cameras bureau-wide. There's a large chunk of time set aside for me personally. I think I need a little more help, but we'll be, hopefully by the end of September, everybody will be issued body-worn cameras. As also noted there, our behavioral health unit continues to have tremendous outreach in the area of mental health. This is also, in conjunction with our service coordination team and many of our outreach efforts around addiction, recovery. So we just have a few examples there from our behavioral health group in terms of numbers. Once again, 2023. This really work around bias crimes. We've seen in 2024 an increase in bias crime reporting. And I think you're aware, but we have a bias crime team, detectives. We follow up on every single bias crime report. And in that process, that has really allowed us to develop a better understanding of community needs, particularly those that maybe are in more marginalized or in our minority communities. You might be aware, we have several advisory councils. We have a Muslim advisory council, Latino advisory council, Asian Pacific Islander training advisory council. We have many different groups that we meet with on a regular basis to be able to work through some of these complex issues around bias crimes, but they also go a long ways towards that relationship between community and police and transforming that dynamic and building that trust. And then at the end of 23 is when we implemented the walking beats for downtown. We also carried that forward. We did some significant walking beats, you might remember, during the Women's March Madness. Overall, this year, because we are doing more outreach and because we are doing a better job of capturing our outreach, we're up several 100% in our overall community outreach in the last 12 months, building off of the end of 23 into 24. I'm very encouraged by that. Our walking beats alone, we contacted over 5,400 people in a 45-day span. That can go a long ways towards reducing the fear of crime as well. Let's go to the next slide. When we talk about crime reduction, I can tell you that in 2023, we were able to reduce crime. Today's numbers are far more even encouraging than that, but you can see by the screen that we were able to make some small reductions in crime in 2023 as it compared to 2022. In 24, we are seeing an even greater reduction, but we're still above our 5-year average. And as we look back into really kind of the window we're trying to strive for is get back into that pre-2019 numbers. But we were able to begin to move the needle in 2023, and we're building on that extensively here in 2024. For example, has been reported several times, we have a 44% reduction in stolen vehicles this year compared to last year. So we're just continuing to move forward on that. Unfortunately, we still have homicides. Right now, we're trending under our 2023 numbers. Our 23 numbers were less than 22. And I'll be talking about that in a little bit more, but that continues to be a focus priority around gun violence and life safety. Next slide, please. As mentioned, with homicides being down in 23 compared to 22, right now we're about 5 or so below where we were this time last year. Property crimes also decreased in 2023, with much of this centered around our stolen vehicle operation that was developed. And as many of you have heard already, we've reported to council the data-driven approach in a partnership with OHSU. So we're definitely seeing the numbers go in the right direction with, plenty of work to go. Next slide, please. The strategy we've adopted in late in 23 and through 24 has really been about having mission-focused work. So we know that the calls for service are of a high priority, and we have a finite amount of officers that are able to respond to those. And where we're seeing the success in actual crime reduction is when we're able to take officers and give them specific missions. These are largely data-based, data-driven, working in partnership, several of these with community groups. that are, I really believe, central to our effort around crime reduction. As we've mentioned before, shoplifting and the reported shoplifting is up. That also, we believe, is tied to the fact that we're doing a tremendous amount of work in the area of retail theft. Despite some of the reporting around property crimes, we're continuing to investigate property crimes, continuing to work with our retailers. We did a mission last week in retail theft out on the north end, got a gun, some methamphetamine, about $1,000 worth of merchandise. So we've really taken a mission-oriented approach, and what I like about these is, once again, they can be data-driven, they can be specific, they can be for a period of time, and they also provide space for officers to maybe do other things besides just the routine calls for service. It also allows us to develop some of our people in the area of investigations, which we know has a long-term impact on crime reduction and the fear of crime. Next slide, please. A little bit here, we're gonna be talking about our efforts around technology, but we did begin a drone program in 2023, and that has really demonstrated some great results for us. I'm gonna be speaking about that again in a separate issue afterwards, so you'll get more detail on where that's at right now in '24 and where we're trying to go. But one of the things that technology is doing is it's allowing us to be efficient with our time and our people. So with the use of drones, for example, we're able to do overview of a traffic investigation, a fatal traffic investigation. We're able to map that out, short period of time, reduces the amount of time on scene, reduces the amount of time we have the situation, the street closed, frees up officers, allows us to provide information to victims' families. We're really leaning into technology going forward. Our air support unit had over nearly 2,000 calls in 2023. 1,200 of them being high priority. So we're definitely relying more and more upon the plane. In 2023, we upgraded our plane from a 1978 model to a 2015. So thank you to council support for that and being able to increase the use of that resource of technology. Next slide, please. Organizational health and growth. I talk very candidly about the importance of making sure that our members are supported, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, physically, et cetera, because they're the ones that represent the Portland Police Bureau. We talk to several 100,000 people a year throughout the city of Portland, and we need to make sure that our men and women that are doing that are in the best place possible. We're encouraged to see the increase in hiring and interest in '23 in the Portland Police Bureau, and we're seeing an increase in hiring this year. All of '23, we hired 61. So far this year, we've hired 51 with a couple more hiring ceremonies planned. I want to thank council for your robust support, not only in our efforts around hiring, but your attendance at our hiring ceremonies goes a long ways. I hear that from both the organization and from family members. To see your public support, much appreciated. So in 2023, we were able to hire 61. We were also to increase our professional staff numbers. And I really want to emphasize and show appreciation for our professional staff. They're behind the scenes. There's several hundred of them. We cannot do this job without their support. They fulfill so many different roles. One of the great accomplishments in '23 around that was the addition of our PS3, our public safety support specialists, which are our alternative response model. These are the unarmed folks that go out and help manage calls and situations, frees up officer times, has a different face for the police bureau. Really committed to looking at that program more closely here in '24 and '25, seeing if there's opportunities to make sure we're maximizing that resource. We have so many great alternative response models now on the table for us to work with, from our own behavioral health unit to Portland Street Response to the PS3s. This is a trend nationally. This is something we need to continue to embrace in the police bureau. I tell people all the time, if you have an organization that wants to take some of these calls, we are not in the business of trying to hold on to them. But the efforts around the records division, as you can see, was able to get back to being staffed at a high level, and that's a critical function in our community service, community outreach areas. Those are some of our accomplishments around that. Next slide, please. And finally, around wellness, you have supported our wellness program over the last couple of years. We're taking a hard look at that now. In 2023, it was fairly new, but we are relying more and more upon our in-house mental health professionals. We have more trained peer coaches. So we have police officers that have taken training in the area of financial management, other areas, yoga, et cetera, where they can teach. And so it's really member teaching member. It's really exciting. And the anecdotal information coming out has been very, very positive with a high degree of people using this benefit for wellness. And I'm hoping to continue once again to provide better direction around that, just to make sure we're being good stewards of our time, but also really emphasizing the health and well-being of our members. The council just recently, we've been talking about a program that we're looking to get off the ground around cardiac screening and OHSU. So there's some more opportunities for us to continue to provide a high level of service to our members. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges, as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, crime continues to go down, but we're at a 5-year look back. We're still above where we want to be. Any loss of life is too much. So I really hesitate to even highlight success in the areas of homicide, because the huge impact that has, not only on the individual and the families, but on our community, on our members. So we are going to continue to strive towards a reduction in that. As you can see, you know, Portland for many years really was a national leader in that statistic. And I really believe that not only around enforcement, but this is an area that really requires a holistic community approach. These crimes are oftentimes connected to, you know, family, cultural issues, history that we can't necessarily interdict with a specific mission like we can with stolen vehicles, for example. So this is really a community robust approach. And once again, this council has supported that in funding CBOs and others. So hopefully we will continue to see those numbers decrease, and would love to get back to a more manageable level. Next slide, please. Traffic fatalities, certainly significant. A record year of people losing their lives on our streets and roadways. Continue to work with PBOT and so many other bureaus. This is a citywide effort. I do hope that by bringing back the traffic division and staffing that more robustly, we have 2 shifts now, a day shift and an afternoon shift. That's going to help a little bit, and you know, we keep a close eye on all of these and how they definitely affect our community and our sense of safety. Once again, really trying to prioritize life and life safety for our community. Next slide, please. In the area of narcotics, this conversation is certainly not lost on any of us. You can see the numbers there. We literally had nearly a doubling of overdose deaths. And remember, these are deaths that are just reported to the police bureau. This isn't indicative of all the deaths related to overdose. These are ones that are reported to us. This year, unfortunately, those numbers seem to be higher. I will tell you that in '24, we've made some adjustments. We've added additional investigators to our narcotics unit to help follow up on the overdose deaths. This year, we had our first indictment in Multnomah County at the state level for criminal negligent homicide for somebody selling fentanyl to somebody who died. That was a unique milestone for us. I appreciate the DA's support in that. So we've increased the amount of investigators. We've also added a bike squad to afternoon shift. You might be aware at Central Precinct. So we now have a really robust combination enforcement and outreach team, both working days and afternoons in the Central Core around this topic. And then we added additional investigators to focus on what would be, you know, larger drug trafficking organizations, try and stem some of that flow of illegal drugs into the city of Portland. This will continue to be a priority for us. I'm a firm believer, and I'm on the record as a law enforcement leader, we could not arrest our way out of this. The issues that we're talking about around addiction are, you know, and I'll be at a conversation with the county this afternoon around it. These are deep-seated, you know, challenging for all of us. And I don't know of anybody in our community who hasn't been impacted over the last couple of years. Fentanyl caught a lot of us in law enforcement flat-footed just in terms of its severity, its addiction level, et cetera. So, but we are ramping up, and I really appreciate the model we have from the street and from outreach to investigations to drug trafficking organizations. This isn't an effort to try and get more people in jail. This is really an effort to try and interdict that head on at the top so that we can reduce some of that flow that it comes into the city and hold people accountable that are selling this and killing a lot of our young people today. Next slide. We continue to look at staffing as a primary concern. You've not heard me talk a lot about that this year because I believe that we need to do the work with the people we have, and every bureau in the organization can certainly make an argument for the need for more resources, which is time, money, and people. With that being said, I would be remiss if I didn't articulate, continue to emphasize, the police bureau right now has roughly, it says here, 811. We're right around that 800 number. We're going to see about 20 to 25 retirements in November, which will drop us back under 800. And our authorized staffing is 882. I can tell you in 2019, 2020, we were 1,050. In fact, when I started in 1990, we were well over 1,000, and the city population was about 415,000. So I will continue to be before council and before the community talking about the need of right-sizing the bureau, but I also am sensitive to the challenges that we all are facing with prioritizing the needs. I'm hopeful that in 2025, we will see a decrease in some of the retirements. I think that that'll be a year we'll be able to make up ground. And as I mentioned earlier, we're seeing an increased amount of interest in application, and we're seeing an increased amount of hiring, a credit to our personnel division, as well as the city as a whole, just demonstrating a commitment not only to public safety, but as really the viable, beautiful city that it is that we want people to be attracted to. So I'd like to see us start to bump up into that 850, 880 range by middle of late next year if our hiring continues and our retirements slow down. And we are seeing a slowdown in retirements. I just want to highlight, we're seeing fewer and fewer people exit just because they can. We're seeing people stick around longer. Reinstituted the rehire program for 1-year increments, and so we have people taking advantage of that, which I believe are all indications of folks' desire to want to stay engaged and participate in the direction we're going. So I'm encouraged by that. And mentioned facilities there just as an afternote. Once again, understanding that as a city, we have a lot of infrastructure issues that we're challenged to meet. Facilities in the police bureau are no exception. Just learned this past week that we're going to be losing one of the elevators in the Justice Center because of wiring issues. So they need to take the entire elevator shaft and use that now for all of the electrical that's needed to help sustain the Justice Center. So we're going from 3 bank of elevators to 2 for public use there. So not a criticism, just a reality of the world we're in, but facilities are definitely also part of the conversation. Next slide. I think we're done. So once again, I appreciate your time. I know I threw a lot at you. I realize that people are far more concerned about what's happening today than maybe what happened 9 or 10 months ago. But I did want to make sure we close the loop on 23, and my commitment in 25 is that 24 will be a little more relevant. Just want to say thank you for your support, and just very confident in where we're going as a city and where we're going as an organization, and largely due to our working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Colleagues, any questions?
I just have a quick one. Chief, number one, thank you for being here today. And I have to say, I'm incredibly impressed by this report. All these numbers are basically moving in the right direction. There's one number, though, that really jumps out, and I take a look at I think, essentially doubling of narcotics deaths in 2023. So we went up from, I think, 150 deaths in 2022 to, I think, 301 deaths
Right.
in 2023. And I respect your attempts to be kind of disciplined here. And just focus on 2023. But do you have any advice for this council in terms of what we can or should do in order to turn around the narcotic death trends that we see?
Well, I'm trying to be careful here in my comments. As I mentioned, much of the area around crime and public safety, I believe, is a community responsibility.
Yeah.
But there certainly is a responsibility upon the state, the city, the county. And sadly, we are just woefully behind in our efforts around addiction and opportunity for people to step out of addiction. So as much as we can enforce, and I believe that has a role, I think the emphasis around addiction support and recovery is just absolutely critical. And I know that's a little bit out of our hands, but from a council standpoint, if we can continue to emphasize the humanity in this conversation, we will handle the arrest piece. I've been on the record, September 1st, we will be arresting people for PCS. That is a viable role. But what happens after that is really the more essential piece.
And Do you have any thoughts or advice on that space? I think literally 24 hours ago, this council was in a work session with some staff over at the county, getting briefed on our deflection program. And I don't think anyone on this council is eager to put people in jail because of addiction and whatnot. And I think I understand our role here, starting in about 3 days. There will be some arrests if you are consuming illegal drugs in public. Our goal is not to send you to jail, but instead to, should you choose to participate in deflection. But I frankly, it wasn't quite clear which services were going to be available to folks who participate in
Right.
deflection. I could see you're kind of signing up for services when they become available, perhaps, but any thoughts on that space, especially as we're all kind of talking to our county partners about how to
I
move
think your
forward?
skepticism is well placed, as is mine.
Okay.
But I have really strived in this conversation to be a good partner, because I think that's important for our community and for our members. But I do believe the efforts of the next 30 to 45 days of the Portland Police Bureau will be closely reviewed and looked at. And also, as I mentioned at Central Precinct Roll Call this morning, will probably be the way that we will identify where the gaps in the system are. You know, it's important to remember that for several years now, we have not had an enforcement component to this. So I'm asking our members and directing them to lean in, to really be engaged, to be present, to be available when possible. This is one more thing on the plate, so it's not as if there's just gonna be a House Bill 4002 strike team that's gonna go out and focus on this. But as we intersect with those in our community that are using fentanyl, that we demonstrate a commitment both to the deflection program as well as enforcement if needed. And I think, really in a short period of time, it will identify where some of the gaps are and then be able to provide some data and feedback specifically to the county about where we can better meet those needs. That's my goal.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to do something a little bit unfair here and ask you a question that's a little bit out of scope, but it's perhaps the flip side of the deflection question. Right now there's a conversation in this town around deflection, and also a sobering center. And I think I've heard you talk a little bit about why it's so important for this community to have a sobering center. Can you tell us more about that? Why? Where are we with the sobering center, and why is it important?
Well, the crisis that's occurring on our streets unfortunately defaults to the 911 system, which largely defaults to the police bureau, or the police bureau and the fire bureau. And police officers are not experts in the area of behavioral health. And so when we encounter an individual who's in crisis, and usually it's a severe acute level of crisis, we don't have the skills and ability, and I would argue very few do. I don't know that even putting a trained medical professional out there in the moment of crisis is able to determine, is this a mental health crisis? Is this drug-induced? What's the issue? What's the problem? What we know is we have a person in crisis who's at risk to themselves, they're at risk to the greater community, and there needs to be some type of intervention. State law allows for a police officer to apply a civil hold based upon our training, our observation. We have to be able to articulate that danger to themselves or others. But what we have lacked for a number of years now is a place to safely take those folks so that they can be appropriately addressed. And some would argue that we do this in emergency rooms. I personally am not in agreement with that. I don't think that's a good use of our emergency rooms, number one. And number two, oftentimes it's a matter of getting them to the point of stability, but then they're back out on the street and we're dealing with them again. I can't remember how many times we've taken somebody to a hospital, they've been treated, and then they refuse to leave the hospital, and we're called back and expected to arrest them and take them to jail for trespass. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's just a complete failure on all levels. And so, having a place that can step up, and frankly, and you've kind of got me started here, so I'll try and be brief, we are talking about the most difficult population. That's who law enforcement's intersecting with. We can create all kinds of locations and places for people on a voluntary level, but we need to have the community conversation about the fact that some people, and this is why we have these laws on the books, some people do need a level of intervention that is involuntary, to create a space and a time for them to be able to get the help, the diagnosis they have or need, and then a pathway forward. And the legislature this past spring recognized that and increased the amount of time that we can hold people. So, you know, we're ready to step into that space. We believe we've been given the tools, but it's once again the back end piece that's so critical.
And I know my colleagues have their hands up, but let me ask one more quick follow-up question, and it may actually lead into some issues. Well, on the sobering center, actually Commissioner Gonzalez and I were chatting about this topic yesterday, and one of the issues which came up in our conversation is where is the appropriate, or who is the appropriate sponsor for the sobering center? I think we have been talking about a sobering center as something we're expecting the county to stand up. I'll credit Commissioner Gonzalez as making the argument that perhaps this is something that the city could do. You've been around for a while. Do you have any opinions on the appropriate institution or government to stand up a sobering center, or does it matter?
No, I think at this point, we just need somebody to step into the gap and provide some leadership on it, you know? The city did fund the resource at Hooper Detox, where we took people for a number of years. The city was the primary funder of that. But I just am really asking and challenging all of us to step into the space and once again, have the difficult conversation. These are people that are hugely suffering extremely, at high acuity, oftentimes combative, difficult, and we have a responsibility, I think, as a community to provide best care for them and others around them. So, you know, I'm open to anybody that wants to step into that space.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your responses and my colleagues' patience.
Thank you, Commissioner Mapps. Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you, Chief, for your presentation, and I really enjoyed the report, and the level of detail really was very, very helpful. So I appreciate hearing that. It's great to see the progress and see the gaps of where we still need to focus in on. I have a couple questions. The first is in the staffing, things are trending better, which is great. We have great hiring. You mentioned 61 sworn members in 2023. I'm wondering, have the new hires shared what the most important thing for them was when looking or choosing to serve in the city of Portland compared to other places? And if so, what is it? Like, what are those things that made the difference? I think it's good for us to hear.
Yeah, that's a great question. One that I have not asked specifically, but I'm going to promptly go back and we'll do a little survey. So thank you for that prompt. What I can tell you is we're recently speaking with our personnel division. I was very encouraged at the number of local hires. I really felt, and if you've noticed the hiring ceremony, we hear their resumes, you know, they're coming from Roosevelt and Jefferson, from, you know, et cetera. And that surprised me. I just sort of had a belief system that we were maybe doing a lot of outside recruiting and continuing to see the majority of new Portland police officers being from the city of Portland or the metro area.
Yeah.
So I take that as a very positive sign. But I love that specific question. And I wouldn't be surprised if our personnel has that information. I don't have it, but I'll make sure to get that back to you.
That's great. And that was my next question about where these new recruits are coming from. Are we seeing transfers at the same rate or no?
Well, we're seeing, you mean lateral officers?
lateral.
Yeah, we're seeing an increase in interest in lateral officers.
Okay.
And what's also encouraging is we're seeing officers who left who have returned and wanted to come back. I will tell you, we take a closer, we don't take a closer, but we take a hard look at that because, you know, there was a reason they left in the first place and maybe there isn't a reason to bring them back. But the reality is those that are coming back to us that, you know, pass our background and review process are expressing to us that they definitely see the benefit of working for the city of Portland and see the direction that we're going. So that's
great.
encouraging as well.
Great. And
Yeah.
what about the backlog at the DPSST? Has that changed at all?
Yes, it has. I credit Governor Kotek and Director Phil Castle have done a great job, and they are able to accommodate us, and so we are utilizing that resource. It's made a tremendous difference. I speak to Director Castle on a regular basis. Really grateful for their willingness to adapt. They ran some 60-person academies. They're back to running 40-person academies, but they now know how to expand if they need
That's
to, but
great.
the backlog's been resolved.
That is promising. And the 24 records positions, what do they specifically do and how are they making a difference in terms of the capacity of officers?
Right, well, any report that we generate has to be reviewed. Every single report is reviewed, has to be filed. But really where records makes a big difference for us from a community standpoint is it's where all the public records requests come from. If you get your car stolen, you're gonna talk to the records division. You know, if you have something you're trying to get a copy of or whatever, you're gonna talk to the records division. So their ability to be timely in that turnaround and responsive, they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Christmas, New Year's, doesn't matter. They're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's been a division that's been difficult to maintain staff in historically because it is high demand, a lot of intense expectations, greater increased amount of public records that we're seeing. So being able to respond to that in a timely manner and get that information out, as well as having just good record keeping for cases, prosecution, et cetera, are critical. Really, really proud of the work they're doing.
That's really great. I want to shift to, I've been meeting a lot with small business owners lately, and it's great to see a lot of crime trending the way that we want it to, but shoplifting seems to be increasing and retail theft. What is the Bureau's plan there, or what are you doing now? And then is there a role for PS3s in that mix, or is that not their role?
Yeah, so a couple things. It's definitely top of mind. Twice in the last month while I've been out to lunch visiting downtown businesses, sitting not in uniform but in my jacket, and I've seen people come in and take stuff off the shelf and walk out, and it's, very disappointing, and I can see the frustration on the owners. So this is once again a significant area, that needs to be addressed. It's really super complicated because the level of offense is very low. It's, very difficult to predict. The retail theft or efforts that we're making, we're doing more with larger stores that have the ability with a loss prevention team to be able to partner with us. So if you're a small business owner and you're just one or two people, you don't have that. You're trying to run a business, and now you're also trying to partner with the police on something specific, and it may not happen as frequently as it does. The other challenge is when we do make an arrest with small business owners, then they have to be able and willing to participate in the criminal justice process, which can be time consuming, and, they have to be available for trial, which means they have to close their business for a day. So there's really a lot of unique challenges. With that being said, I recognize the vitality and the unique dependence that Portland really has on small business, right? Just having this conversation once again at Central Precinct this morning, emphasizing our response to that. So my goal going forward is to try and increase the amount of efforts we can do around misdemeanor follow-up, which is where most of these crime level falls. We need a better online reporting system. Our online reporting system is outdated, makes it difficult to upload video, pictures, et cetera. So we have a really hard time even being able to, if a small business has a theft, they have video, they have information, they can't even get that into the system, and we can't follow up. So we need a more robust online reporting system. And I think if we are able to craft a couple of those, then we can start to demonstrate a responsiveness to that.
Great, thank you. Last question. You referenced in the report, there was a reference to receiving the IACP grant around the way the Bureau is going to work with community to build relationship. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm not 100% familiar with all the details. Obviously, our community engagement division with Chief Lavelle,
Yeah.
Captain Abrahamson, and Officer Huntsberger are leading the charge in that. But we were selected out of a small group of cities nationwide to receive these grants to be able to further our community engagement and work specifically on areas that, need attention that are unique, culturally specific. And this also ties into the bias crime conversation, right? So being able to be more responsive to concerns that may or may not be crime related. Sometimes the police bureau can be a connection and a relationship to other parts of the city to help direct people to other areas that they might be. I know you're aware of, and the council's aware of our work around U visas. And certainly there is a crime component to that, but there's a bigger issue there in terms of partnering with other agencies, other services, et cetera. So that's where I see that going. I can certainly get more details on that. But I'm very proud that Portland was selected out of a small number of those selected nationwide to be recipients of that grant.
Great, and congratulations on that. It just brings me to, it just spurred another question in my head. How's the Bureau working in partnership with other partners throughout the city around preparing for the election? What are the plans there?
Yeah, well, I want to credit Michael Jordan and the council for, going to this new model July 1. despite some of its challenges, has been a real benefit to the police bureau. I feel tremendous amount of support from Michael and from our other city bureau leaders. And I've had conversations with many of them, and I know they stand ready to support us. So I feel like going into this time, we are better prepared as a city than we have been in the past. That all hands on deck, everybody knows that we have a priority around life safety and proper expression of freedom of speech, et cetera. And Michael's communicated that to me on every meeting we have. He's like, if you need something, please ask, because we stand ready to provide it. So I think we're in a good place, and be meeting with the state police superintendent soon, but meeting with our regional partners, having great support. We have an MOU signed for the first time with Multnomah County, Gresham, and the Port. We haven't had that for many, many years, so we definitely have laid the groundwork and will continue to be all in over the course of the next 75 days to ensure a safe election season.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good to see you, Chief Day. I'm getting rid of some of my questions because they were asked previously. Great questions, colleagues. I'll start with the traffic and pedestrian safety. It's been a big issue, and we hear a lot of it from the community lens. We hear a lot about it from PBOT. So we don't often have you here to discuss it. I want to hear, and you mentioned that there's more collaboration just in the month and a half of implementing the new system. So how's the dialogue with PBOT and with PPB on pedestrian safety?
Yeah,
What's that look like?
I know that our traffic division works really hand in glove with PBOT, whether it be for large scale events or identifying problem areas, high risk corridors. One of the challenges that we've seen around traffic safety in the last couple of years is the rise in pedestrian deaths. And there's not a great science behind that, but, we are seeing more people outside. We are seeing more people, trying to cross I-84, for example, other high-risk areas. So we're also working closely with our outreach teams to identify camps, as this council's talked about, places that are close to high traffic areas, right? See if we can reduce some of what would not be, as a driver, you wouldn't consider typical to see a pedestrian on I-84 or some of these areas where we are seeing people. So we're trying to adjust some of that in terms of our response. We take a very direct approach to looking at the data, seeing where the risks are, and then providing visibility and enforcement. For years in the city of Portland, the number one concern and survey for people was speed. I mean, traffic was the number one topic of conversation. I can remember as a young officer in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, people wanted safer streets. And it really does factor into the fear of crime, because what laws provide is a level of predictability. And when that predictability is gone, when you are involved in an accident or something to that effect, it does have an impact on the community and on, of course, everybody involved. So we're working closely with PBOT. We're using a data-driven approach, and we're also working with our outreach workers for maybe those pedestrians that might be at higher risk to try and find ways to mitigate that risk.
When PBOT is doing planning for new projects, do they consult and work with you on those plans?
Specifically, I'm not sure. I mean, I have an assumption they do because our relationship has been so seamless for so many years. So I would definitely can follow back up with our traffic team and see where they're at. Those aren't necessarily conversations that come to me, but it's definitely worth a follow-up to ensure. But I've always found them to be good partners in that.
And then the information we get on pedestrian deaths, do we, I've asked this before, but I can't remember, I think we were looking into it. Do we get information about the cause of death beyond, do we get the coroner's report? Do we get the information about, did they have drugs in their system, things like that?
Yeah, I will have to defer to traffic on that, but once again, I'll get back to you with that, and make sure that we find a way to provide that information. I'm not sure how detailed it is when there is obviously if there's a criminal nexus to it, a hit and run or something, we focus on the driver. I'm not sure what information is gathered upon by the deceased, but I can definitely ask that question.
With the dramatic increase in the fentanyl and in the overdoses, it's just important to look at causation, and so we can actually track that data.
yeah, I would agree.
Commissioner Ryan, can I just jump in here to help you out a little bit? I'm not fully an expert. As you all know, I used to have PBOT traffic deaths are a deep concern. I do believe the county does some toxicology reports for some of our traffic deaths. In my experience, there is not necessarily an automatic information transfer around what they find in those reports, and
I think we're missing out on some good information.
I believe it is possible to find it if you are a diligent researcher, but it is not an automatic conversation that happens.
Okay. Second one is when you mentioned back to the wild increase in overdoses, and you mentioned your behavioral health group, and I was impressed to hear there were 80 meetings. Who were those meetings with?
Well, we work closely with, a broad spectrum of our mental health outreach workers in the city, from Cascadia, Central City Concern, et cetera. We have a behavioral health unit advisory committee as well. It's made up of community members that meets regularly with our team and helps provide pathways into these other organizations to have conversations. I don't have the list in front of me, but, our BHU program, which has been around now for many years, has a very robust referral program. We work on a threat assessment team, trying to make sure that we're identifying people, whether it be in schools or workplace violence, et cetera, that we're doing outreach with.
Well, it's encouraging, and I'd like to find out more about that.
Yeah.
And is that where the conversations about involuntary intervention, involuntary holds, is that a topic that comes up at those meetings?
It does come up with them. I'm trying to lead that more holistically because they do have a very specialized role that they play. And I'm thinking in terms of the officer on the street, 2:00 in the morning, faced with a person in crisis, what are their options? And, the behavioral health unit, they work with a clinician, but those are largely more case-driven. So they're working specifically caseload versus responding to that scene at 2:00 in the morning, because we just don't have enough of them. We will utilize them in some situations when they are available, and if it's daytime and hours, then they will be called upon. And we also have them embedded in our crisis negotiation team, so when we have call-outs with major tactical team and our crisis negotiation team is there, we have some behavioral health expertise as well.
I really appreciate, it's such a complex topic, and I think our state has been afraid of even tackling it. And so it's so important that we get that out on the table. And to
Yeah.
hear that it's a dialogue with professionals makes me happy to hear that. I want to give you a compliment. We passed legislation on speed racing the best we could a while ago. I think it was in 2022. Everyone was here, except I don't think you were here yet, Commissioner Gonzalez. So to hear that it's being implemented with some fidelity, and I'm probably getting into 2024 now because I've probably seen the impacts of that implementation more this summer than last summer. So I really just a statement to complement another very complex activity to monitor. And so I just want to lift that because people have been really complaining about that heavily for a long time, especially out where I live. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Great, Commissioner.
That's all.
Thanks, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Gonzalez.
I want to thank you again for the helpful report here. Some positive trends across the board. I guess on the pedestrian deaths, I just want to, I think we do have some of the data that we've tackled before, including with PBOT, and in terms of the composition of victims. One, toxology is a certain consideration. Also just their houseless versus housed status. I think we've had some decent data that homeless are disproportionately victims of traffic deaths in the city of Portland, and I think your I-84 scenario really hits it on the head. I can't tell you how many Portlanders talk about driving on I-84 and in the middle of the, and at night, and there being a person that you don't expect to be there. That's it's a substantial challenge for drivers right now. So to appreciate your work on focusing around some of these high danger areas. I want to get back to staffing. So I think Commissioner Rubio asked a good question about surveying folks that are coming into the Bureau. And I guess the same question is, what data are we collecting when people are exiting? Certainly we have a fairly active police union that will tell us their perception. And those conversations are helpful, but as the chief, what are your perceptions, and how much do you think is data driven as to, you know, why folks are leaving?
We do have those conversations. Our personnel division does have those conversations with folks. And, you know, for a number of years, we saw people leaving just at a moment's notice. You know, some even leaving before they were eligible for retirement, for many of them saying, you know, this is my day and I'm eligible and I'm going, I'm not staying any longer. That trend has been, as I said, on the decrease. And one of the programs that I mentioned earlier that's having a significant impact is wellness, is creating space for members to be able to take a few minutes of their day to really prepare themselves physically, mentally. There's tons and tons of research that show just a 20, 30-minute walk a day, and I need to take my own advice here and do that as well. But there's tons of research out there that demonstrates creating that space. And so we're seeing an increased amount of appreciation for that. And our program is, built out more robust than other agencies. So, to leave here and go somewhere else maybe isn't as appealing. And then also, I can tell you what I hear from talking to people is the change in tone in the council and community support, right? I mean, the reality is that, I was at the Soul Stroll on Saturday over at Dawson Park. It was just a fantastic event, a couple 300 Portlanders and walking, and just the appreciation and the gratitude and the relationships, which I believe have been there throughout my career. I've loved this city and loved the police bureau, but we're seeing more confidence in our community members to speak about their support for the police. And this is not a carte blanche, they can just do whatever they want. We still need a high degree of accountability. We had the officer involved shooting on Saturday night. We expect a high degree of scrutiny for that and accountability. That absolutely is there. But we're also seeing, even out on that scene, people appreciative of the police response, the efforts made around de-escalation, et cetera. So what we're hearing from our members, both in those that are taking advantage of the rehire program and those that even are leaving, there's less people leaving just to leave. But they're leaving, maybe it's time to go do something different, another opportunity, another role. But overall, the feedback has been encouraging.
Do we have data at this point in terms of our attrition rates relative to like situated police departments, and are we tracking how we do in terms of retention and attrition relative to other police departments?
I'm making a note to myself. I'm certain we do. I don't have that off the top of my head. I think we're doing a lot better than Seattle right now. But we just did a big look at West Coast cities around hiring and around numbers. And so I can get that specifically and see where we're at typically. Our retirement system's a little bit unique in terms of FPD&R, so it's a little bit harder to make that apples to apples comparison compared to other traditional state retirement systems.
And can you explain why? Because I think this is lost on some folks, why that exact issue.
Yeah, so the way that the FPD&R calculations are made is that there are periods of time where typically your final pay is calculated on a 12-month window. In 12 months, you have 26 pay periods. And so, you have 12 months, 26 pay periods. Where in FPD&R's calculations, there are certain times where there is 27 pay periods. So it's more beneficial to go at a specific time period, and it's just the way the calendar falls. It's just kind of unique, and one of those was in June, and one of those is in November of this year, and therefore members are, financially smart to wait until that time period. And I think you're right, Commissioner, it's important to highlight that because it doesn't mean that this mass exodus in November is simply because people are angry or upset or frustrated. Sometimes it just makes financial sense to make that change at that time. What we are seeing, though, and what we saw in 20, 21, 22 is we were still losing 5 to 7 members a month, and then we would see a big increase in a month that maybe recorded a 27 pay period. Now we're not seeing the monthly departures, but November will be a good test for us to see how many. We have over 100 people that are eligible to retire in the Portland Police Bureau. If we only have 20 or 25 retire in November, I think that's a high compliment to where we're trying to go and what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, and I think there are some different dynamics between police and fire, but there's also some similarities. And we had historically a designated pension plan in the city of Portland. New hires have gradually been moving to PERS. I know there's there's a sense, I don't know that we have any data, but there's a sense that the portability of your ability, pension qualification, you can move to another fire department inside the state of Oregon, not really lose anything from a pension perspective. There's a perception that that's also a risk in Portland Police. Again, we've moved to PERS to contain a pretty substantial retirement liability. It was a logical move. But what's your sense as to, what are we losing to other police departments right now? Not just pure retirement, but going elsewhere in the state.
Yeah, that certainly is always a risk. I'm not seeing those numbers at a high level at this present time, but certainly the portability of that makes it certainly more available. But I can look more closely at those numbers. What I will tell you is, even going back years ago, that when I was in other roles and people would separate from the organization early, prior to retirement, I always tried to make an effort to meet with them just to kind of get an idea. And a lot of times the message was, oh, they're angry, they're frustrated, whatever. And then I would go meet and they're like, hey, my parents are aging. It just makes sense for me to move to Eugene. My wife got a job, my partner got a job here. Typical life things that people leave jobs for to begin with. So, but the portability of the pension system now statewide is something that we have to pay attention to. And I think that goes a long ways towards, demonstrating a good, high-level commitment to a solid work environment.
100%.
Portland Police Bureau forever was the standard bearer. You could come here and you could participate in horses, you could participate in canine, you could participate in air support, et cetera, et cetera. We were the state leader. This was the place where people strove to come and be a part of. And we lost some of that, frankly, in the last few years, and we're struggling to rebuild that. So I think that as we continue to invest and demonstrate, no, this isn't just a one-time deal. We have a strategy, we're thinking long-term, we hear the community and the needs, and we're willing to invest in public safety that is generating confidence internally, but it's also drawing people in. The last hiring ceremony, we just hired an officer from Tigard, been there 7 years. Once again, that portability goes both ways, right? He can now come to Portland and participate and, not lose anything. So it goes both ways.
Got it. I just want to transition to a couple other pieces. Briefly, in terms of homicides, positive trends in 2023, we're certainly not anywhere close to pre-pandemic numbers and homicide rates in the city of Portland. But looking high level, if you were to rate us nationally, we're, despite dramatic increases by Portland standards, we're nowhere near an outlier in terms of homicide rates. There are examples of cities that are our size, though, that do have lower homicide rates. I mean, Boston comes to mind. I think Seattle and San Francisco, I haven't quite tracked where they are so far in 2024, but they would arguably have outperformed us last year in terms of containing homicides. What lessons do you think can be gleaned from other cities in their response to the homicide challenges? And or is every city just too unique that it's dangerous to draw too broad of conclusions from some of these other cities?
Yeah, I always do want to be, cautious because, there's 18,000 police departments in the United States, and every jurisdiction has a little bit of a different approach, but we certainly are constantly, scanning the country and looking for models that are working. The Bureau and the city's adoption of the ceasefire model, we're continuing to build that out. I've visited Oakland personally and saw the success they've had down there. I think it's a viable model to use. Our investment in CBOs, but then also around and once again, you're not hearing me. This is not a complaint, but just the ability to have investigators, to have the time and space to do the work. We have, at one point in my career, we had, 130, 140 detectives. Today, we have less than 80. So, we have, these crimes are super involved. They're very intense, emotional, lots of time with families, with victims, getting witnesses to cooperate. A big resource, and demonstrating a robust commitment to that, as well as the community outreach. I do think the conversation that you're touching on is a worthy one, is that, Portland we love this city. My wife and I were in Sellwood last night, and just love to be able to get out and be a part of it. But we're also a big city. I mean, we're not a small town. We have big city challenges, and, right-sizing all of our bureaus to appropriately be able to address the problems of a larger city demographic, population-wise brings, is important. And I think it's, you know, my bias is, of course, I think that starts with a strong public safety commitment. So that's where I think we are continuing to learn and grow and evolve.
Well, and I want to be careful with the implication of my question. I think identifying the criminal justice intervention and interventions that are effective in confronting a homicide crisis is important, but we also have to talk about the upstream contributions to why Portlanders are killing themselves at rates they weren't in 2019. That may have absolutely nothing to do with the police. I mean, it's so I asked the question in terms
Yeah.
of comparing to
Yeah.
what other cities are doing to respond to kind of a national increase, but I also don't want to imply that it's police's job to fix a broken society that's contributing more homicides than it did before. And
No, I didn't hear that, sir, but thank you. And I just want to clarify, you know, particularly now on the topic of homicide, you know, the rising amount of crime, violent crime that we're seeing in our houseless community is very concerning. Shares many of the dynamics of the other marginalized groups where there's a lack of trust, a lack of relationship and confidence and participation in the criminal justice system. And this is something that's relatively new over the last couple of years. Historically, even though our houseless population is highly visible, we weren't seeing the internal level of violence that we're seeing, you know, sexual assault as well as homicide and serious assault. So we're trying to make inroads into those relationships to be able to provide, you know, better investigatory support. But I didn't hear that it was all us. It really is a community effort in so many areas of public safety, but this in particular because of the nature of the crime.
I have some other questions I'll probably take offline, but one last area in terms of moving to drug crimes, trafficking, the composition of folks that are distributing, that we're arresting. I mean, there's a lot of attention on racial makeup in that space, and it's interesting academically, but sometimes it also distracts. I really, what I'm curious about right now is, you know, where do they come from? How many of them, if someone's distributing meth and fentanyl, how many of them went to high school in the city of Portland? How many of them are coming from somewhere else? And the reason, I guess, for my inquiry is there's a fair amount of perception in urban lore that, you know, Measure 110 during the pandemic, city of Portland gets targeted by cartels. And is it because of Measure 110 or is it close proximity to I-5? But there's an element, I mean, I go into Old Town and people tell me that all the time. The cartels came here sometime in 2020, 2021. And, you know, you walk the North Park block and there's some pretty serious gang activity there that's, you guys intervene and it's back a week later and, you know, and it's noticeable. It doesn't feel like it's people who live in Old Town. But what is your sense right now in terms of, you know, the folks you're arresting? How many of them have been here a while? How many of them are relatively new transplants?
Yeah, I can't speak to specifics right now. I don't have those numbers in front of me. What I can tell you anecdotally is that it's really very diverse. You know, the issues that we're facing around fentanyl, as I mentioned earlier, are unique, but the issues around drugs are not. I worked here, you know, when heroin and cocaine were primarily on the street. I worked here when crack was primary, when methamphetamine, certainly fentanyl has totally changed the game. It is such a powerful, horrible drug. But, you know, one of the other things that's changed the game is the distribution, the manner of distribution, right? We're finding, you know, so much of this happens in the space on social media. I'm not suggesting that there isn't street level drug dealing going that's impacting our community, but, you know, we find 16, 17-year-old kids who think they're buying Oxy or a Xanax from a 19, 20-year-old who's, you know, purchased 25 online somewhere else and turns around and sells it to this young person and then they die. So, you know, the complexity of this is requiring a wholesale shift in our approach from, we still have the street levels. I mean, as I said, when I started, people actually carried pagers and we had payphones and they would get a page and go to a payphone. You know, I talked to my daughter about payphones. She doesn't know what I'm talking about. But it was really specific. And today, so much of this stuff happens off the grid, so to speak. And then the other challenge too is just the availability. It's so incredibly cheap. So In terms of demographics, I'd love to get more specifics. I know it's kind of all over the board, but we still see a significant amount of drugs that come south and a significant amount of money that drugs that come north and money goes south, and that's been the case for a long, long time. And that's not an area that we ignore or don't look at. But the online availability has really forced us to take some other approaches, investigative approaches, to try and interdict. And we're finding in that space, it's not just, one particular demographic, it's just opportunists who see a chance to make some money, unfortunately, on the lives of a lot of young people and others in our community.
I think the last question then is just, when we look at our criminal justice system as a whole, it's a complex thing of state law, dependency on the county to provide a court system and a jail that functions. Where are you seeing the biggest gaps in terms of systemic performance that is outside Portland Police's control? Where are you seeing the biggest frustration from your police officers? The community wants us to intervene here, but even if we arrest, we're not sure it's going to get booked. We're not sure what's going to get prosecuted. We're not sure that the judge is going to actually impose some real ramifications. Where do you see the biggest gap right now?
Well, that's a tremendous question. I'll try and be brief. But first of all, I'm a big systems thinker. I like to look at things holistically, not just cause and effect, but the whole system. And there are certainly reasons to be critical of the criminal justice system and its historical abuse of power over the last 400 years in our country for a variety of different reasons. Even though I'm a participant and representative of law enforcement, it's not lost on me that system has not always been applied fairly and justly. But the reality is that's the system we have. That's what we have relied upon. And
I would go further, cities can't function without a functioning
exactly,
criminal
and it
justice
needs,
system.
you have to have that component. That's a requirement. It's like education, housing, medicine. There's some things that are just what I see as pillars, and I see criminal justice as a pillar for our society. The frustration on the police standpoint is we're the tip of the spear. Nobody enters the system that don't come through us. We're the first ones to get called. We're the ones who use our discretion to determine what the course of action is going to be. Just like all of this talk around deflection. Are they going to be deflected? Are they going to go to jail? Are they going to get a citation? A police officer is going to make that decision in that moment of time to the best of their ability. And the frustration is, after that, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And the backside of that, the system does not do what it says it's promised to do. We don't have the space in the jails. We don't have the public defenders. We don't have, the opportunity for people to see a judge in the appropriate amount of time, et cetera, et cetera. The state hospital is a great example. It's just place after place after place. So the analogy that I like to use is, the front piece of this thing is not changed in 100 years. It's the same way. We send the police, we call 911, and we take action. And we continue to do that, but the backside has changed dramatically with whether it be philosophical beliefs around civil commitment, whether it be around jail, whether it be the role of the courts, whatever it might be. And they are worthy, valuable, important conversations. But we're turning on the spigot every day the same way. And we need to be able to say, hey, something's either going to change. And we have found oftentimes when we try to tweak it on the police end, that's not the place to do it because that's the crisis. That's the moment in time where it's most complex. You would think when we move people to a safe and secure facility, whether it be a jail, whether it be a treatment facility, whatever, then we could take a breath. We could create space. We could say, okay, what's the next step? You need to see a judge tomorrow. You need a defense attorney, this and this and this. It's not about leveraging the system to be a punishment. It's about leveraging the system for what it's intended to do, which is to provide that safe and equitable space for all of us. And I want to reiterate, as I said at the beginning, doesn't mean it's always done that way. I'm fully aware of it, but it is the system we have. And, we will continue as law enforcement to show up and be present in those spaces every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of what happens. The police are here and we're doing our part. But at some point, we have to hand them off. And that's where we see the separation. Because we don't have the ability to have sort of the philosophical conversation. We have the crisis in front of us that needs to be addressed. the conversation on the back end about what's the appropriate route is out of our control. And it's usually out of our control by the county or by the state or others.
Yeah, and I would just encourage, in the short time we have left with this form of government, as you see those systemic challenges, I've been up in front just in my short time on council and seeing what Lipstick does and doesn't do. And we have a broken criminal justice system in Multnomah County on really fundamental levels. We forgot about justice, and that's manifesting itself in 1,000 ways. And we got away with it for a long time because we had a lot of our upstream things were working, and this was a relatively healthy city. And the pandemic hits, and a lot of unhealthy things came into our community. And so I would just encourage you to, articulate where you're seeing the systemic barriers, because that is what this body can do, at least to be advocates for the city and for first responders in terms of what we're seeing there. We don't control all of that by any stretch of the imagination, but we can at least be advocates.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to Commissioner Maps. And colleagues, I don't want to cut a great conversation short, but I know we have public testimony on this item, and I believe people are starting to walk out.
Absolutely. Very quickly, Chief, in your comments, one of the things that you said was the Bureau needs a better online reporting system, I think, for retail theft, reporting retail theft. Is that in the works?
We have a team right now seeing what's available both locally and nationally to see if we can come up with one. And it's not just around retail theft, it's around so many areas, but the one we have is not meeting the need and the expectation, so yes.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, and I turn to the city administrator and the commissioner in charge of public safety and say, that sounds like an important thing to follow through on, and I hope that we can. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I am done for the day.
Thank you. Commissioner Rubio,
I don't have a card.
public
Sorry.
testimony. How many folks do we have signed up?
We have 2 people signed up for this
Excellent,
item.
let's get to them.
First up, Dan Handelman.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Great. Thank you. Mayor Wheeler and members of council, I'm Dan Handelman. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a member of Portland Cop Watch, and I'm here to testify about the annual report. Our group has been following the U.S. Department of Justice lawsuit since before the council signed the settlement agreement in 2012. One of the key components is community engagement. There are 2 paragraphs in the current agreement regarding the annual report. The compliance officer and DOJ continue to find the bureaus following the agreement simply because they checked the boxes of presenting the report in each precinct and at council prior to September 20. Yet these public presentations continue to fall short of the expectations set up in the agreement. Paragraph 150 requires the Bureau to, quote, educate the community about its efforts in community policing in regard to use of force, about the PPB's policies and laws governing pedestrian stops and detentions, and bias-free policing, including a civilian's responsibilities and freedoms in such encounters. These items should appear in the report every time. They're not covered substantively in the presentations. An example of how the PPB seems to simply be going through the motions, the draft report did not even have a section on traffic stop data. After we pointed this out, the Bureau added a section, but it does not present any data contained in the stops reports. Over the last 24 years, police data continue to show Black Portlanders are stopped at 3 to 4 times the rate of their representation in the population, 18 to 24% of stops. The Bureau is unable to credibly explain this disparity. Although the chief has touted accountability as one of his goals, there's little discussion about how and whether officers are held accountable in the annual report. Data about internal affairs do not show how many violations were found, nor what types of discipline were imposed. This omission is made worse by the fact that the Independent Police Review is expected to put its annual reports out by May of each year, but none has been published yet to cover 2023. There's also no description of what the Police Review Board does, just a long narrative about how hard it was to find outside facilitators to run their meetings. We continue to believe the PPB could improve community trust by being more straightforward about when they use deadly force. The report again mentions the number of shootings in 2023, 4, which were all fatal. There's no mention that 2 of the 4 people killed were Black men. It's noted that 2 of the 12 focused intervention team officers were placed on leave after being involved in shooting people. This follows 2022, where 7 FIT officers were on leave due to shootings. The team was constituted in 2022 has been involved in at least 4 shootings already. The chief's memo that extended the deadline to release officer names after deadly force incidents from 24 hours to 14 days was written in April 2023, but there's no mention of the change. If transparency is a goal of the Bureau, this policy change should be included in the report. More broadly, the name should be shared with the public immediately rather than 2 weeks down the road. Also, there's little information about the use of force, including meaningful data about force used against people in mental health crisis. The only place where the report seems to mention PPB's interaction with houseless people is an item that says neighborhood response team helped address more than 700 camps within the city. And the settlement agreement requires the Bureau to send a draft report to the PCCEP for feedback. PCCEP is designed to liaison between the police and the community. However, this year they declined to discuss the draft report at a meeting in part because of the short timeline. We sent most of this information to the Bureau along with our concern about the missing stop data section, but nothing else was changed in response to our comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Next up, we have Sarah Hobbs.
Welcome, Sarah.
Sorry, I feel my nerves here. For the record, my name is Sarah Hobbs, and as I was going through the report, what I really focused on was the start of the Community Engagement Division. I, earlier this year, facilitated a meeting between the Community Engagement Division, it was Chief Lavelle, Sergeant Abrahamson, and then Officer, now Sergeant Amos, and the staff at the Rosehaven Women's Day Shelter. What started out to be Assistant Chief Lavelle, Sergeant Abrahamson, Officer Amos, meeting with staff, ended up with now Sergeant Amos also bringing the Chief, correct me if I've got it wrong, the neighborhood response team. And ultimately what happened was, and this was not planned, mind you, the clientele at the Rosehaven Women's Day Shelter has every reason to not trust the Portland police. These are predominantly unhoused women. But everybody ended up out on the sidewalk out there at the intersection of Gleason and 18th when the shelter closed. And there was just this amazing interaction that just spontaneously happened between Rosehaven clients and the neighborhood response team. It was not planned, it just happened. And it was amazing. And I know a number of the staff from the Rosehaven Women's Day Shelter, had they not had prior commitments, because I learned about this like this time yesterday, they would have been here. Also, another group that I've had a lot of interaction with lately is the Behavioral Health Unit Service Coordination Team. I live in a public housing building over in Northwest Portland. One of my neighbors was struggling very, very badly with psychosis. Had I not been warned by a stranger on the street, I would have been hit by a microwave. They pushed out of their third-story window. They, in the throes of psychosis, caught their apartment on fire. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but there is massive water damage to the building, putting that fire out. The Behavioral Health Unit Service Coordination Team worked hard, and ultimately the neighbor has been placed in stabilization and supportive services. The building now has hundreds of thousands of dollars of water damage, but thankfully that could be addressed. A lost life can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you're okay. Thank you for sharing that with the police chief being here. I know he appreciates it. Thank you.
That completes testimony.
All right, that completes testimony. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the report. Commissioner Gonzalez moves. Can I get a second? Oh, you want one more? I'll hold on to that for a sec, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Chief Day, I just have a quick question. That was wonderful to see the two of you connect there. When I looked at the data around cleared cases, caseloads, that are the clearance rate for 22, 23, I didn't look back and see if these have improved or not. And the reason why I try to look at those data points is because it hints at trust between the community and the police force. Is that the right hunch?
Yeah, and I don't, once again, don't have that in front of you. I can get it to you. Those clearance rates are something that we look closely at, especially from an investigative standpoint, because you're right, people need to know that their case is being looked at, being addressed, being followed through. So I would agree that that's a component of that trust relationship.
Maybe our office can loop back to just
Yeah.
see the trends on that.
Yes,
'Cause I
we'll
do
do that.
think it's a real good data point that looks at the trust between community and police.
You bet.
So, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Yeah, thanks.
Commissioner Gonzalez moves. Can I get a second?
Second.
Commissioner Mapp seconds. Any further discussion on the report? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I just want to thank the chief and the department for a comprehensive report. Obviously, given the number of questions, the length of the conversation, this is an area that this council is deeply interested in. I think we need to think a little more deeply about how we facilitate deeper engagement on these core policing and criminal justice issues. I'm not sure a report once a year is really sufficient, given the magnitude of the issues at stake for our community. With all of that, I vote to accept the report.
Maps.
Yeah, I want to thank the chief and the entire Bureau for really stepping up in the year 2023. We can see that in the data contained in this report. I'm optimistic that we can continue these trends, and I look forward to getting an update on an improved online reporting portal for the Bureau. That sounds like some low-hanging fruit that would make our customer experience even better. For these reasons and more, I'm glad to vote aye.
Rubio.
I want to thank Chief Day, Mayor Wheeler, and the team at the Police Bureau for this report. I really appreciate the detail and the great work underway. I also want to appreciate the city employees who make up the Bureau, from the sworn officers to PS3s, to civilian employees, and to advocates who work to help victims of crime, and all the others who are unseen behind the scenes, making this work possible 24/7. Also on holidays and on birthdays. The work you all do every day is really challenging and often thankless and often unseen. So I want to appreciate that. And as Chief mentioned, our systems aren't perfect, but they are what we have. And our job is to ensure that the fundamentals are strong and supported, that the community feels safe, and that community and officers together feel trust and connection. So I'm really grateful for the leadership there and this work, and look forward to watching its progress. Thank you. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Chief Day. It's always good to have you with us. It was easy for us to just want to continue in the dialogue. And I also appreciate your acknowledgement of former Chief Chuck Lavelle. That was kind of you, as he was in the role for much of 2023. And I'm really happy that he's on your executive team. That's really good news for the city. As you know, I'm a strong advocate for a police force that is truly community-based, and as such, I'm pleased that your first goal is about focusing on that dynamic between the police and the people that we serve. Thank you for being intentional about that. I was also pleased to see the police force has been making concerted effort to work with partners like that with the vehicle theft missions and tie-ins with community on gun violence prevention and illegal drug use. I'm just seeing more and more engagement from the past. Public safety is a collaborative effort, as you know. You say it all the time. This can't be done alone just by the Portland Police Force. I also like to commend you and your officers for instituting walking beats, having your officers out of their cars. I'm noticing that more and more. Everyone in Portland is noticing that more and more. And so keep that up. I also almost wish we could have a way to track how much time our officers are spending in the community, getting to know the people they protect and serve. Maybe body-worn cameras will help with that. I don't know. I just know that as someone that's been a public servant most of my life in community capacity, I always would tell my team, make sure when you meet with community that you don't speak more than 50% of the time, but you let them have the majority of the time when you're in a meeting. I really have to say how much I enjoy coming to swearing-in ceremonies. I really see the change happening just by listening to the biographies of the people we recruiting. They really come across as true public servants, and it really does affirm your number one goal. And I might not get it right, but I recall you always saying to each one, welcome to the Portland Community Police Bureau. So you always put that word in, which once again is intentional. And I do believe welcoming this new generation of officers to our police force will result in the real culture change that I think everyone is anticipating. And I just end with this. I just heard what you just said about our job is to show up. Our job is to show up and provide safe and equitable space for everyone. What a noble effort as a public servant. So hats off to you and your entire bureau. I accept the report.
Wheeler.
Well, first of all, I just want to express my gratitude again that you failed in retirement. Your loss, our gain. Thank you, Chief, and thank you for all the great work you and your colleagues are doing. Robert, you too. You don't get out from under this. But it is a new day, and it is fun for me to sit here nearly 8 years into my administration and see that it is a new day. You are data-driven. You are innovative. You have reinvented many of the basic public safety tools. You have relied heavily on statistics for that information. Just across the board, whether it's gun violence, the enhanced community safety team, the work we've done around the focused intervention team, the new patrols, the expansion of behavioral health unit, the work that's being done in partnership with other law enforcement jurisdictions, the great work that's being done broadly around gun violence. That's not only the Police Bureau, but the work that we're doing through some of the other programming in the Office of Violence Prevention. It's all starting to come together in a really positive way. And I think the one really interesting thing for me is remembering my first police report way back when and comparing it to the tone and tenor as well as the results of today. This is a bureau that has reinvented itself. This is a bureau that has significantly improved itself. This is a bureau that has been responsive to the ever-changing, I would say rapidly changing needs in our community. And you have shown up time and time again. And so as I start to show myself out the door, probably with a lot of gratitude from a lot of people in this room, thank you. I vote aye, the report's accepted. Look forward to hearing the next one on the news. We're going to dice up the schedule just a bit. We're obviously almost catastrophically behind at this point. I want to move item number 753 to the head of the regular agenda, please. 753 is the first reading of a non-emergency ordinance.
Authorize expansion of the Portland Police Bureau Unmanned Aircraft System Program for purchases not to exceed $98,000.
Okay, and I think we have Sergeant Dufresne here. Is that correct? Yes, good. Thank you for your patience. Well, of course, the chief. And Robert giving able support from the background, but I know he's there too.
Thanks. Good morning. My name is Jim Dufresne, and for the last 14 months, I've supervised our Small Unmanned Aerial System, or UAS, pilot project. I've been asked by Chief Day to provide a short briefing on our project, along with lessons learned, progress made, and recommendations for expansion out to our patrol division. Next slide, please. As you may remember, in April 2023, Portland City Council unanimously approved Resolution 191224, which authorized the Police Bureau to purchase equipment and stand up a UAS pilot project. This pilot was very limited in scope, with the intention of evaluating its ability to enhance community safety and reduce time spent on calls while ensuring privacy rights were respected. Next slide, please. With these metrics in mind, PPB worked closely with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, the Bureau of Equity and Human Rights, and Smart City PDX to refine standard operating procedures and ultimately release a privacy impact assessment that was submitted to Council prior to their vote. The Bureau also designed a UAS program website which contained links to our standard operating procedures, as well as an interactive dashboard that provides information on our equipment, flight locations, and call types. We've also applied for and received a certificate of authorization from the FAA, which is an agreement that outlines our compliance with federal airspace restrictions. we continue to work toward providing transparency while respecting the privacy of victims, suspects, and the judicial process. Over the last 14 months, we have trained and certified 16 pilots from our Specialized Resources Division and purchased 19 drones, including 3 that are capable of flight in Portland rain and wind. We flew about 9 missions a month, primarily in support of the Traffic Division Major Crash Team, our Special Emergency Reaction Team, and assisting patrol in searches for armed suspects. Many of these missions resulted in significant savings of time, resources, and inconvenience to the public. For a little clarity on what these tools can do, I'm going to ask the clerk to play a couple of videos from a traffic crash scene and a search for 2 armed suspects while I provide a few details. You can go ahead with that. So our major crash team realized significant advancement in time spent on scenes and the quality of our finished product when we integrate UAS. In certain applications, UAS use showed an approximately 80% decrease in time spent mapping these scenes, allowing roads to open sooner and reducing community inconvenience. Additionally, traffic investigators have begun conducting fly-through videos like this of traffic vehicle trajectories and overhead views of crash locations, which have been exceptionally helpful when presenting a case to grand jury or in trial. You can move to the next.
Next slide.
On patrol, UAS has been used to provide distance, time, and options to officers during high-risk situations with armed suspects. This video was captured by Gresham Police who were assisting us in Portland. In this case, armed subjects eluded in a vehicle prior to crashing, running into a residential neighborhood, and hiding in a community member's yard. Officers established a several block-wide perimeter, but due to the involvement of firearms, did not want to force a confrontation by searching those dark yards with a canine. Police used a UAS equipped with a spotlight, and once the suspects realized their location was known, they walked out to waiting police and were taken into custody with no force used and firearms recovered. We have found that the UAS in the air can cause suspects to stop running, or in some cases even surrender to the UAS once they realize they're being observed. And you can go to the next one. So while the pilot project provided an excellent opportunity to establish training, skills, and culture, our intentional restrictions on use also presented some issues and lessons along the way. A few examples of those. A suspect involved in a shooting eluded officers in a vehicle and on foot into a residential neighborhood while in possession of an AR-15 rifle. UAS was able to assist with the search and capture of the suspect, who had discarded his weapon in an unknown location. Tactical officers believed the rifle could be on a roof and asked for UAS assistance to find the weapon to remove it from the neighborhood. However, as the suspect was in custody, the exigency was gone and UAS use was no longer allowed by SOP, and officers spent hours combing that area for that gun. On several occasions, detectives investigating violent crimes inquired about using UAS for diagramming or documentation of a perishable scene, but our pilot project only allowed for traffic-related crime scene processing, so these requests were denied. Additionally, PPB conducts many successful stolen vehicle missions, street-raising interdictions, and other crime suppression missions within the city, where stops often result in suspects eluding into residential neighborhoods. Prior to each of these missions, supervisors requested UAS support to assist in the safe apprehension of these suspects. Those requests were denied as they were not specifically part of our pilot project guidelines. As our project wound down, we again worked with our partner bureaus and Smart City PDX to produce an expansion plan and update our privacy impact assessment that reflects those changes. Per 2020 City Council Resolution 37520, a council vote is required to allow PPB to purchase UAS equipment. Your approval will allow for expansion of the program out to our patrol division where it can provide an immediate impact. And last slide, please. So our expansion authorized use cases are derived directly from current Oregon state law on police drone use. Oregon Revised Statute 837-300 provides comprehensive direction to police agencies on restrictions, warrant requirements, and data policies. Using language directly from state law removes room for confusion and brings us in line with all of our law enforcement agency partners. Expansion will also allow for trained patrol personnel to respond immediately instead of our current system of paging pilots from home, reducing time and increasing odds of safer outcomes for all involved. It also revises our policy to allow us to support stolen vehicle missions, street racing missions, organized retail theft missions, and many other initiatives that improve our ability to safely respond to these dynamic events. It expands crime scene processing for our detective division. Large outdoor crime scenes can often be mapped and comprehensively documented in less time using a UAS under our expansion plan. And operating this equipment within a large population center next to an international airport requires significant training, good decision-making, and pilot skill. In addition to initial training certifications, our pilots are required to attend regular sustainment and maintain minimum flight hours. Within our available resources, our expansion will allow us to support requests from other city service areas to provide trained and equipped UAS pilots for potential missions throughout the region, such as Bull Run watershed surveys, disaster site and damage evaluations, fire scene triage, and bridge inspections, just to name a few. This presentation, along with our supporting documents, will all be available on our Police Bureau website, probably in the next day to a week. And unless there's any questions, I'm going to hand this over to Chief Day.
Yeah, just as Jim mentioned, you know, we are expanding the program, but we are expanding it within state law. When we began this pilot project, I would say we were using about 20% of what was allowable to us by state law. And this is simply to step into that space and use all that's available to us to, you know, build upon the savings we've seen. There's a cost savings, but there's certainly an efficiency piece here, which is allowing for us to resolve incidents more quickly, safer, less risk to the public, and less risk to the officers. So this seems like a pretty straightforward request, with the caveat that I want to recognize, you know, certainly anytime we step into the space of technology and law enforcement, that there be a high degree of oversight, accountability. We'll continue to be transparent with our website, where we're deploying. You know, we will continue to evaluate as we go and are committed to continuing to share that information so that people know that we're not just, you know, outside of the boundaries that have already been established by the state. This really goes in line with our efforts to be better regional partners. Numerous agencies around us are way ahead of us in this conversation, and the efficiencies that this will allow for, I just strongly support our request to trying to expand the program within the state law boundaries.
And I assume that concludes it.
Yes.
Great. Any questions off the top, folks? I have just a couple. Do you have,
No, I was thinking we could.
I have a question.
Commissioner Rubio?
I just have a quick question. You mentioned that you had worked with Smart Cities PDX in the first one. Did you work on this with the expansion as well?
Yes, we have put out our revised privacy impact assessment now.
Thank you.
That's it. Great. So I take it, based on the presentation we just saw, that you are using the drone or propose to use the drone for cert activations, correct?
We do currently use it for
Okay,
cert
good. I'm glad to
activations.
hear that. And can you see scenarios where a traffic stop becomes a cert activation? You would use the drone in that situation?
We have a number of times a day where people elude us in cars and then run on foot. Often they're armed. Our current situation allows us, if we believe that they're armed, to use drones. As state law changes, or as state law becomes our policy, we'll be able to use it if people just run and there is probable cause to arrest them for another reason.
And then there's just a clarification I want you to make, because from time to time, people ask me about which of our units are actually using drones. And I think people don't understand that CERT members can actually be drawn in from different units. For example, the Focused Intervention Team. But the Focused Intervention Team itself does not use the drones. It's the CERT team that use the drones. But it's very possible that people in those units when they are activated as members of the CERT unit, will be using drones for the CERT deployment. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, that's
Good,
it.
I just want to get that on the record.
Your CERT
'cause I think
officers,
there's
you know, have a couple
confusion.
different responsibilities, and so, you know, we can't just say this is their box and over here it doesn't apply. Their skills and abilities are gonna transfer to wherever we need them and whatever assignment we need them in.
Excellent, thanks, Chief. Commissioner Rubio, then Commissioner Ryan.
Sorry, I have a couple more questions. So first, you know, we know that there's some concern about the use of drones as it relates to going into residences. Is there an SOP in place that determines under which circumstances a drone can be used? And can you just share that and put that on the record?
State law really defines that. State law requires either written consent of the party who owns the residence, or it requires a search warrant.
Okay, so this is just completely within what is already existing law. It's not going above and beyond.
Exactly.
Okay, and then, is there a post-operation debrief where you're, looking at how you've used it and it informs how you use it in the future?
We have conversations after every deployment, and we have a monthly training, and the
Great.
first hour of our training day is to go over every call and discuss and validate and justify those uses.
Okay, great. And then my last question is, what is the process of determining who becomes the remote pilot, in command?
To be a pilot, originally we took folks from my team, which is the Regional Bomb Squad, and then we reached out to other people from our Specialized Resources Division, including folks from FIT and ASU, to be the original pilot cadre. For our new group of pilots, we reached out and took about 6 people from each precinct in order for them, if this program moves forward, for those folks to be pilots. They were chosen by their command.
Okay, and you have a training that everyone goes through that's standardized and everything?
There is a certification to get what's called your Part 107 certification, which is a commercial pilot's license for UAS. And then we have a flight school also that everybody has to go to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, thanks. I just listened to the annual report and you made it really clear there's a dramatic increase in the use of the plane. I could assume that it's because we've invested in it and it's taking off, but is that why? Can you tell me why there's such a dramatic increase?
Yeah, I
Plane
mean,
in
we're just recognizing it, and I know you're not in that space, Jim, but feel free to jump in, but we're just recognizing the value of that it creates, you know, distance, containment, observation, gives us more options.
Yeah.
You know, it's also expensive to fly, you know, this will be a resource that's gonna be more immediately available, but be able to provide some of the same type of support. So I think, you know, because of our mission focus, as Sergeant Dufresne mentioned, we are encountering, we're making more arrests and we're encountering more people. And so therefore, there's more risk involved for everyone involved and everybody connected to it. And we're just trying to minimize that risk. So using the plane, using these UASs helps to do that.
And when implementing it, this is to feed off of what Commissioner Rubio was asking, when implementing and scaling up, it's so important to have a culture of continuous improvement. And as such, I want to know what that discipline looks like. I heard a little bit of it, but you know, it's the plan, it's the doing, it's the studying what happened, and then reloading it and doing it again. Do you have a rhythm to that continuous improvement?
I think that the decision was made at the beginning to use folks from my team, who already do a lot of robot work. They already maintain a lot of equipment. They're used to coming from home on call-outs. Their equipment needs to be in working order all the time. And that's kind of how we started building this culture out. There's an expectation on this team. And the team is small enough and we don't go out enough to not have pretty much my hands on every one of these call-outs. And so we've built a culture of you need to maintain everything, you need to keep it technically working, you need to keep it physically working. We do post briefs after, and we continue to move forward on building new apps. It would be excellent if we could provide all the information to the public. Unfortunately, this is police work, and so a lot of the things that we do are held by the judicial process a little bit, but we do provide everything that we can, and we're going to continue to work forward and do even more of that.
And then part of that continuous improvement is always feedback. So how do community members contact to voice concerns?
You can always call, I'm sorry, you can go ahead, Chief.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, you can always call. There is a complaint process in place. You can call IPR. In the 14 months, we have not gotten a single complaint. People are either flying their own drones at the same place we are, or they come up and they just want to have a conversation about them. I mean, you've seen these things. They're just kind of not super intimidating to most people.
We're, super sensitive to the invasive nature or perception of that and want to make sure that we're respectful. And also just add, as Sergeant mentioned, the culture that's already been established by taking a slower approach and creating, a unit that really values and sees the importance of this. I've been stressing more and more to the organization, that we need to hold these opportunities with respect and gratitude. They're not just a blank check. So it'll be the same expectation with these new operators, that they see the level of accountability and expectation is high for them in this role.
I did notice on the website, my staff did, about there's an email address, but there's no telephone number. So has the program received, it sounds like it's receiving interest, but perhaps that's just some feedback.
Okay.
Okay. And maybe I missed it, but I didn't see any demographics regarding race, age, gender identity in the public dashboard. What's the plan to try to get that, or is it, to your point earlier, that it's confidential because of the things you mentioned earlier?
A lot of that is confidential. There's a case number that's attached to every one of these calls. And so there are reports that are available on that, but I don't know, and I couldn't speak for that, whether or not that'll be available.
We'll follow up with the city attorney and see if we can
Okay.
put that out, I would hope that we'd be able to release that. We'll follow up with the city attorney and see,
I appreciate that.
add that
Thanks.
to the dashboard, yes, sir.
Thanks so much.
Great. Commissioner Rubio, did you have another question? Great. With that, then, do we have public testimony?
We do. We have 3 people signed up.
Great.
First up is Nicole Mercier.
Welcome, Nicole. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. All right, well, my name is Nicole Mercier. Here to comment on the expansion of the Unmanned Aerial System Program, which is, basically a domestic surveillance program. Drones are surveillance technologies with serious privacy and civil liberties implications. The current proposal from Portland Police Bureau to expand the Unmanned Aerial System Program is unacceptable. It needs revised transparency requirements, clarified rules, and a much more limited scope of application. They would like to expand it to anything that qualifies under, and I quote, enhance the protection of lives and property. Our privacy and civil liberties are too important. We cannot permit vague language for surveillance technologies like drones, which the Police Bureau has already deployed in at least one home. We know that they need a warrant or permission to go into homes, but they don't need that to look into homes or fly over your backyard. I think we need to be sure they can't do any of those things unless it's genuinely a last resort for human safety and not simply for convenience, which was a word I heard during the last presentation. If we are asked to give up our privacy and civil liberties, it must be done with careful consideration, perfect trust, and clear guidelines. Perfect trust will be difficult to attain for Portland Police because during the pilot program, they deployed drones and applications that aren't covered by the current standard operating procedures. This creep occurred without authorization from City Council and without meaningful input from the public. And you can read more about that at Red Tail Media. KDK is the author. I fear that seeing how successfully they were able to bend the rules gave them the confidence to ask us to authorize even vaguer guidelines for expanded use as if no one really cares about privacy or the protection of civil liberties. The existing rules do limit drone use to applications like explosives detection, major traffic cases, violent incident cases. Again, they'd like us to authorize a vaguer directive of enhancing protection of lives and property. I think that is so vague that almost anything could be argued to meet that criterion. This is unacceptable and dangerous, and I emphatically do not support the current proposal to expand the Portland Police Bureau's Unmanned Aerial System Program in the name of privacy and our civil liberties, which are 2 founding principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have Dan Handelman.
Hey, Dan.
Hello again, Mayor and members of council. I'm still Dan Handelman, using he, him pronouns and being with Portland Cop Watch. We testified last March when the drone program was first introduced, and we predicted this was just the beginning of a technology whose use would rapidly grow. The proposed bureau-wide expansion proves our point and is of great concern. There was no indication last year that the pilot program was intended as a precursor for anyone in the entire Portland Police Bureau to use drones. The talk at the time, and even at the presentations of the PPB annual report, was that the unpersoned vehicles would mostly be used for traffic crash situations. Sergeant Dufresne testified to council it would not be expanded and cause privacy and other concerns because only his very small unit would be operating them. Subsequently, KPDV reported in June 2023 there were 16 certified pilots and 7 drones. Now the Bureau wants to buy an unknown number of more drones for $98,000. The Bureau's data show that only 32 of 118 uses were for traffic incidents, which is only 27%. Reporting that you heard about by Red Tail Media indicates that during the pilot program, the Bureau used the drones to support the focus and intervention team on several occasions, using the logic the FIT was housed in the same division as the explosives unit. However, that does not address that, for example, 44% of the FIT's traffic stops are of Black people, wildly disproportionate to both the population and other Portland officers. This leads to questions about whether the FIT's use of drones is similarly racially imbalanced, and I really appreciate Commissioner Ryan asking for demographic data. Also, in at least one instance, a drone was used inside a person's residence, which you also heard. Red Tail also posted what they say is a proposed standard operating procedure for the police use of drones. Last year, we called for that SOP to be made public before the project went into effect. That did not happen. We urged the council to review this policy before approving this wholesale expansion of the program. In addition, although there is an extensive analysis attached to today's agenda, which seems to be in response to the required considerations about surveillance technologies, it does not seem to directly address, the same as last year, that Smart City PDX gave this program a medium risk rating for its potential to violate people's privacy rights. Instead, the analysis promises the drones will not be used for certain activities, but lists no consequences if that does happen. We quoted the Los Angeles Police Accountability Group's 2015 research paper in our testimony last year. These machines are a dangerous step forward in the further militarization of law enforcement. Historical evidence of mission creep, whereby the use of policing tactics and technologies expand beyond their original functions and goals, puts LAPD's claim to want to use these drones only during special circumstances in serious doubt. The evidence shows these new weapons pose a serious cost in public resources, public safety, and the mental and physical health of targeted communities, close quote. We left the council with a warning last year that a human who violates the law could potentially be held accountable through the courts or administrative investigations while a robot cannot. Thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Brian Conley.
Welcome, Brian.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Brian Conley, and I come to you not only as a concerned candidate for City Council District 3, but as a digital security trainer worried by recent reports about PPB's drone testing. First, unlike other comments, I'm not opposed to drones generally, and to clarify my credentials, I've authored numerous guides for journalists on digital security, and I'm currently leading digital security workshops for Bloomberg reporters across Asia. In reporting last month by Red Tail Media, PPB knowingly used a consumer drone approved only for training as part of an actual manhunt. That's the specific incident. People talk about a drone entering a home. Per PPB's case report, after loud hailing for nearly 2 hours, a plan was put in place to clear the apartment with a drone. PPB then used a DJI Mini 2 drone, a consumer-aimed device that typically has fewer data security safeguards than PPB's enterprise models, which are meant for operations. PPB did not explain why they used a training drone, despite having 2 hours to mobilize an appropriate one. The drone was then flown inside a private residence, even though it was not a hostage situation. PPB officers may not be aware of the risks posed by consumer drones, like civil liberty concerns, safety issues for civilians, and serious security problems, just to name a few. But before expanding this program, we must understand these risks. According to Kaspersky Labs, a leader in digital security, drones can be hacked from as much as a mile away. The radio signal's often unencrypted, making hijacking relatively simple and providing a hacker full control of the drone, or the signal can simply be jammed, leaving the drone with no way to navigate. At best, using consumer drones for surveillance, even by accident, opens the city up to civil rights lawsuits, wasting millions of taxpayer dollars. At worst, interference with such a drone could severely compromise police procedures and contribute to injury or death, and further erode public confidence in Portland police. I strongly encourage you to delay further expansion of the drone program until there is a detailed, workable XOP in place with safeguards to ensure that drones will not be used improperly in the future. I am aware that police have arguments for using drones as a force multiplier, but without a working SOP where police officers are aware of the consequences of using a consumer drone, the risks of expanding the drone program beyond traffic and explosive units are too great. I will be sending the counselors and Chief Day a copy of this testimony along with relevant articles so you might better understand the risks posed by consumer drones in police operations. And I would encourage you to ask Sergeant Dufresne, if he's still here, to clarify why a consumer drone was used in that case. He was not available to answer the reporter's question about that before publishing. And I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Great. I don't see any questions at this point, Brian, but thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it, and very best of luck to you.
That completes testimony.
All right, very good. Any further discussion or questions before we move on? This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance that moves to second reading. We will take a 10-minute recess. It's 11:37. Let's come back at about 11:45. We are in recess. Back in session, item number 752 off the regular agenda. This is a report.
Accept bid of $9,387,320 from Moore Excavation Incorporated for the Lombard Pump Station and Force Main Upgrade Project.
So today, colleagues, we're discussing the acceptance of a bid from Moore Excavation Incorporated for a critical upgrade to the Lombard Pump Station and Force Main that's been in service for nearly 40 years and has now exceeded its useful life, I'm told. City Administrator Michael Jordan is here. Priya Dhanapal, the DCA for Public Works, is here somewhere. There she is over there. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to Kathleen Brenes-Marua, Interim Chief Procurement Officer, to give the procurement report. But obviously, Michael and Priya are here to answer questions as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. For the record, I'm Kathleen Brenes-Marua, Interim Chief Procurement Officer. I'm here to recommend authorization to enter into a contract with Moore Excavation Incorporated for the Lombard Pump Station and Force Main Upgrade Project. On September 6, 2023, council authorized procurement services to issue a solicitation for the project, and the construction estimate was $10,200,000 with a moderate confidence level. Procurement services issued an invitation to bid, and 3 bids were received on May 7th. Moore Excavation Incorporated submitted the lowest responsive bid in the amount of $9,387,320, which is approximately 8% under the engineer's estimate. The city's aspirational 20% subcontractor and supplier utilization goal applied. Moore has committed to subcontract approximately 6.5% to firms certified by the state's certification office for business inclusion and diversity, as identified in the report before you. They're self-performing approximately 64% of the work and subcontracting the remaining 29.5% to non-certified firms. In reviewing Moore's good faith efforts, we confirmed that Moore conducted significant outreach and found that they subcontracted to certified firms in the areas of work where certified firms submitted bids. And in those areas of work subcontracted to non-certified firms, they did not receive any bids despite their efforts. Moore's commitment to the city's equity goal is further demonstrated in the last 3 contracts they were awarded in the past year, where they achieved the 20% aspirational goal. Moore Construction is in full compliance with all city contracting requirements, and I here recommend that council accept this report and authorize execution of the contract. And that concludes the report.
Short and to the point, blissfully so. Colleagues, any questions on this? Commissioner Maps.
I will have some questions on this, but if there's any public testimony, I'd like to
We
hear
have
it.
testimony on this side?
We have 2 people signed
Let's
up.
hear 'em.
First up, we have Michael Martin online.
Welcome.
Thank you. Michael Martin, owner of Northwest Infrastructure. Good afternoon, Mr. Wheeler. Commissioners, thank you for the invitation, Mr. Maps, to be able to speak today. I wanted to, with regard to projects with the aspirational goal of 20%, I'm a certified firm for several years. We perform demolition, excavation, and trucking. After the report, as I'm looking at, was read of an aspirational goal of 20%, in which 6.47 was achieved. I'm trying to figure out, I'd love to participate on these particular projects to, be a part of them in a way beyond trucking, flagging, different tasks such as that. As I look at this particular project, I see that there was it was a requirement to reach out to certified firms. I was not contacted for this particular opportunity, performing a lot of the work that is required to achieve and to complete this job. And I'm wondering, number one, why such a low participation? 2 COBID certified firms. As I look at the list here, one in particular, I see it is trucking for $50,000. That equates to me to about a couple hundred hours, in which this project, I think, requires more than that. So we have trucks, we have excavators, we have people that's able to perform this work. We also have certified firms who we work with that achieve and perform concrete work. As I see, this is not part of the COBID list that is here. If there's anything I can do, if someone can help me to direct me as to how I can be more a part of cities' projects by performing the tasks in which we're able to do. We're a company, we have $20 million bonding capacity. We're able to do this work and love to do the work. And so I wonder, with not being able to achieve the goal, is there something more to be looked at as to why only 6% is achieved? I don't know if it's certified firms are not bidding the work I don't know the reason, but maybe that could be something that could be considered. Historically, with our jobs that we've done with, I think it's O'Brien Park, we've achieved over 80% certified firm participation on that project. So really like to be a part of this one and maybe get some of these questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Con Lay. Con, are you able to unmute?
Oops, thank you. I just saw the uh, the opportunity to unmute. Mayor Wheeler, my name is Con Lee. I'm the executive director for PBDG, and thank you, Mayor and council members, inviting PBDG to participate. And similar to Michael, Michael is one of our members. We, as I mentioned to staff at City of Portland, that we as an association represent over 300 small business owners, minority-owned, women-owned businesses, and we volunteer to connect these opportunities. When I hear that majority firm can't find co-bid firms, they haven't reached out to us. We happy to volunteer to connect these opportunities, co-bid firms to these projects. And as I also spoke to staff at the fair contracting meetings, that we offer and volunteer to do the work and to make sure our business owners have these opportunities. So we love to participate and help and connect the city to with our members and make sure you hit your goals. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity. I want to keep it short and simple.
Thank you, Con.
That completes testimony.
All right, great. Commissioner Mapps.
Sure. Interim Director, do you have any response to some of the issues that we heard in public testimony?
From the documentation that more excavation submitted, we did find that they did substantial outreach. Trucking was one of the ones that was mentioned. And I'm looking at their log that they reached out to 15 certified firms and did not receive any bids, any trucking bids. For this particular project, again, I don't know if it's the timing of when the solicitation was released. It's a lot of contractors are at capacity. There's a lot of contracts that we have out already and subcontractors working on for the city of Portland. So we will continue to, conduct the outreach. We have an inclusive contracting manager within procurement services that when projects are coming out is reaching out to the different community-based organizations and making opportunities known. We will continue to do that, and we'll continue to work with environmental services and the public works service area to think about how we can enhance those outreach efforts. And especially, for this, I think that there's an opportunity here for pump station work.
Absolutely. Do you have a formal relationship or even an informal relationship with PBDG?
So we do. They actually, we have them under contract working with procurement services to provide supportive services to certified firms, and we're attending their monthly meetings. So we do have a relationship with PBDG.
I think we heard from Con, though, that it seemed like on this one, they weren't looped in, but it seems like they could have been a resource here. Do we have a sense of what opportunity we didn't take advantage of here, or perhaps we did take advantage? It seems like they could have helped us here. Let's put it this way.
Absolutely, and I'll go back and for this particular project and check with our inclusive contracting manager. Can't say specifically, conversations or the outreach done to PBDG.
Thank you. I see my colleague, Commissioner Ryan, has his hand up, and I'll probably have some other things to say.
Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. And I'm going to just go with what Commissioner Mouse was talking about. I'm confused on, I'm just confused on this process. So we heard from somebody that used to work with the contractor that was selected that didn't receive any outreach. And then we heard from an organization who's very networked and resourced well to help provide COVID firms, and they weren't engaged in this process. So we just heard that during testimony today. And then staff dug in a little bit, and we learned something in this process that I didn't realize was true, so I want to have it verified. Is it true that we don't look at COVID numbers until a bid is accepted?
That is correct. Well, no. The COVID numbers or contractors, once that their bid has been determined to be responsive to all other bidding requirements, are asked, the low bidder is asked to submit their utilization plan. That is when procurement services staff review their utilization plan, do follow-up with the contractor, do follow-up with certified firms to verify and confirm the information that's being presented, and make a determination on whether or not a contractor has complied with the requirements of the subcontractor equity program.
Okay.
If they have complied, then they are found to be responsive.
So the status quo low bid is primary, and then after that's discovered, then we do the investigation, if you will, into COVID.
That's correct.
So there's no COVID threshold and determining factor when evaluating the proposals?
Not on a low bid project. So when cost alone is the basis of award, we're looking at responsiveness to bid requirements. And it's not, there aren't points allocated, if you will, for participation.
Okay. First of all, I could tell that over the last 4 years, we've made some efforts to have better COVID numbers, and maybe that's why it didn't stick out as much. There seems to be a systemic change here that could be helpful, so that we don't hear about such things at the last minute. It seems like this could have been resolved with more dialogue and earlier effort. So anyway, that's all. It seems like we have more work to do here.
Commissioner Mapps.
Commissioner Ryan raises a good point, and I think I might invite our Deputy City Administrator for Public Works to address council to identify and help us understand some of the steps the infrastructure bureaus in particular are taking to make sure that we achieve our aspirational goals in contracting.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hi.
Good morning, Mayor. Thank you for your question. First, I want to acknowledge that while
Where are you?
Thank you. For the record, I am Priya Dhanapal, DCA for Public Works, and I want to acknowledge that while Moore Excavations bid for the Lombard Pump Station was lowest and responsive, the 6.5 COVID commitments fall short of the 20%. But as confirmed by procurement, this was despite their diligent outreach and good faith effort. And I want to assure Council that Public Works staff did their adheres to the policies and procedures set forth by the procurement services. And Public Works service area is committed to supporting equity in all our projects. With that being said, we have over $950 million worth of major capital infrastructure investment for this fiscal year, and we aim to direct over $140 million to COVID firms. And I recognize the significant impact of this investment to the COVID community. And I want to assure the Council that the 3 bureaus that I oversee in Public Works Service area are dedicated in their efforts to achieve this goal. But I also recognize the need for continuous improvement in our outreach and support for COVID-certified firms. To address this, as Kathleen mentioned, I will coordinate with Teresa Green from the Equity Contracting Group to develop a robust strategy for increasing outreach. And additionally, we will coordinate with procurement services to organize an outreach event similar to a procurement day. I think we had one scheduled last fall. We don't have one scheduled for this year. So we will work together to schedule that outreach to share upcoming projects, and other opportunities with COVID contractor community and explore ways to enhance their involvement in city projects. We are definitely dedicated to improving and achieving our equity goals, and we'll take these steps to provide more support and more engagement with the certified COVID community.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Administrator. I appreciate your efforts in this space, and maybe I'll just address my colleagues here. First, as we all know, this is a project I'm familiar with. Frankly, this is a mission-critical project that has to get done. We cannot not do this. On the other hand, achieving our equity aspirations is really important. As we heard in the infrastructure space, we got about $1 billion in spending coming in the next year. If we are successful at being sure that companies owned by women and people of color have an opportunity to achieve this work, not only are we building the city of the future, we are also building wealth for generations of Portlanders who historically haven't had access to wealth. So I think it's incredibly important that we do well in this space. I will tell you, one of the things I'm particularly proud of during our time on council is I think we have gotten better in the space of minority contracting. I will also tell you there's a lot of stuff going on in the building in the city right now, many different balls in the air. I am deeply concerned about our ability to stay focused in on achieving our equity goals in contracting, even as we expand the size of council, change the way we organize our bureaus, so on and so forth. This is, in other words, I think, a space that is as mission critical to us as actually having a pump station that is up and running. This one's a really tough one for me. We can't not have this pump station work. However, we are, I'm disappointed to see the kind of numbers that we're seeing in this particular, on this particular contract. I'm glad, we got a deputy city administrator here who obviously gets it and is deeply committed to moving us forward. And Kathleen, you've been great during our time here. I recognize the ways in which this is deeply challenging. At the same time, I just got to say there's something a little bit unsatisfying about where we're at with this particular contract. And I hope that we can institutionalize our commitment to doing better in this space as we move into the future. So that's, I think, all I have to say on this one at this moment.
Yeah, let me jump in on this. Well said, first of all. Thank you. Because there is a balancing act here. I agree with Commissioner Mapps that this is a very important project and it does need to move on. And then there is the question of why is the percentage so low? And I don't think we have a completely satisfying answer as to why it is so low. And Priya, you and I had a discussion earlier, was it this week or was it last week? They all blend together about what some of the reasons might be. On one hand, it might be that the outreach effort was not sufficient. 25 firms seems sufficient to me, but I'm not an expert. It didn't get the type of results that we wanted. So maybe there's something more we could do around outreach. There's also the market reality. And the market reality is a lot of people don't need this contract right now. There's a lot of work. People are really, really busy. They're backed up. If anybody here has tried to do anything around capital improvements, you know what I'm talking about. And so it could be that there were firms who were completely qualified, would have been very interested in this, but they're otherwise occupied at this particular moment. We don't know. So just to be very transparent, I am going to support this, but I also, Priya, support your desire to continue to dig into this and maybe bring back some recommendations or improvements to council. I appreciate your open mindedness. And Kathleen, thanks to you too. And I realize you're further complicating this, and I don't want to go too far into the weeds. This was a low bid project, and that further complicates this, correct? Could you explain a little bit how it being a low bid project also makes it a little more complicated?
Yeah, so with low bid projects, like I previously stated, the basis of award is the lowest cost. And while we have done our best to incorporate different policies, different initiatives to really maximize the participation, we have to award, contracts based on the lowest cost and compliance with the requirements.
Right, so if I'm busy, if I'm a busy contractor or a sub, I'm less incentivized to bid particularly low, right? I mean,
And they're making business decisions, right? As they're preparing their bids, and with the sub bids that they're receiving, of those that they, commit to, because again, they're trying to be that lowest bid. So, the difference being, for some of these projects that are complex, I'll use Bull Run as an example. I'll use the secondary treatment expansion program project at the treatment plant as an example. The work is so complex that we're able to use an alternative procurement method where we're able to base the award of the contract on many different factors aside from cost, corporate responsibility being one of those. And then we are able to work during the pre-construction services phase with that contractor to negotiate a robust equity plan for both subcontracting and also workforce, which then we have the ability, they're under contract, to work with them, and really establish and maximize the participation for those projects and why we're able to see higher and greater results.
Thank you. And thank you for repeating yourself. It always takes me 2 times to have it sink in. Commissioner Ryan.
Yeah, to follow up, and thanks for looping back to the earlier question, and the mayor jumped in on it. What's preventing us from using those same practices with the low bid?
State law.
So it's the state we get to blame for this,
Well,
not the
for
city can't do
construction-
anything.
For construction services, the state law requires that construction services will be delivered predominantly by the lowest cost. And if we are able to produce findings and demonstrate, there are about 20 different findings that need to be made, that there are reasons why it is in the city's best interest to pursue an alternative method, then we're able to utilize a request for proposals process, enter into an alternative contract such as construction manager, general contractor, or the design build method. So it really has to do with the complexity of the project and complying with state regulations.
Would the state fine us if we actually inserted co-bid practices that you mentioned earlier?
We risk losing our programming, our equity programming, because we don't have a disparity study, a current disparity study to identify and demonstrate that there is a disparity within the city of Portland metro area, and why we're limited in what we're able to do. So I don't know if fine is the correct word, but definitely be challenged and our programs be challenged.
Michael? Yeah. Is your mic on?
Now it is, okay. The state sets the standard in ORS 279, sets the standard for procurement statewide. There are ways to do alternative procurements. You are the local contract review board. You've been asked before to make the findings that Kathleen was alluding to do alternate procurements. If you don't make the appropriate findings, or you choose to do alternate procurement methods without making those findings, more, I think, than our concern about the state is you will be subject to third-party lawsuits. There are lots of other people trying to bid on these contracts, and if you're imposing requirements on the bidders that are outside state law, you're subject to third-party lawsuit also. And so I think that may be the bigger threat, risk to the city, is that other bidders would say, well, that's not fair under state law.
provided us that information.
Yeah, the legal folks that they review all of the findings that you're asked to make for us to do alternative contracting methods. I will tell you, even with the alternate methods, you must still make findings that say it's the most efficient way for the city to get its work done. And usually that efficiency calculation is based on the complexity of the project. So we'll do alternate methods like at the wastewater treatment plant, where we ask designers and contractors to come together and work through the design phase because the construction is so complex that we actually get a better project at a better price when we ask for that. Well, when we do that way, we can also set other standards in the bids to get a more holistic view of how we analyze those bids. We got, and Kathleen can correct me because I've been away from it now for a couple of years, but the work at the wastewater treatment plant on Columbia Boulevard, we got incredible outcomes out of that from a COVID participation perspective. First of all, there was a huge amount of money on the table, so it was over $500 million. And then secondly, when you get to those kinds of numbers, you quite frankly have very large and sophisticated contractors that are bidding on those jobs, and they are very used to this environment, and they get better results. They put a lot of effort into that. But again, there's a lot of money on the table. I will tell you for this kind of work, and I think Kathleen mentioned that Moore Excavating have met our guidelines on a couple of previous contracts recently. I think they have another one coming up where they, again, will meet the guidelines. Those jobs, those 3 jobs, are pipe replacement jobs. They're a different kind of job than a pump station job, requiring different kinds of subs, different kinds of skill sets, and the market is different for those different kinds of skill sets. And so it's why we don't always get the results sometimes that we hope for. The type of work that's being bid makes a difference in the results that we get.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Thanks, Michael.
You know, I would just submit, with all the focus on COVID, it would be great to get some info when we're evaluating these contracts in terms of actual workforce diversity, right? Because we've gotten so focused on ownership, I think rightfully so, but that's not the whole story. And when we talk about access to the middle class from traditionally disadvantaged groups, you know, what is the utilization of firms that have a diverse workforce, that are participating in apprenticeship programs, that are supporting the local ecosystem. And I would just submit, COVID is just one part of that equation. And I recognize that these activities has predated my time on council when the equity goals were articulated. I understand what we're trying to do. But every time we go through these COVID numbers, you know, one of my questions is, well, I'd really like to know the diversity of the workforce. And we don't get that. And I also would like to know, are they supporting local apprenticeship programs? And we don't even, it's not in any of the reports I see. So not that's a contra to the other perspectives articulated here, but I have personal interest in those areas. I don't want to make this excessively burdensome for you guys to get through the process, but bottom line, ownership is only one part of the equation here in achieving the goals we're articulating.
Commissioner, I couldn't agree more. And in fact, the city recognized that a few years back and created I got the acronym, but I don't remember the actual words, but the COEP process, where the capital budgets for at least the big infrastructure bureaus, and I think OMF when we do capital construction work, of the construction portion of that work, 1% is contributed to the COEP program, which is designed strictly to enhance workforce diversity. And we contract with Prosper Portland, who contracts with multiple community-based organizations and education organizations to try and diversify the workforce. Again, When we do alternative construction methods, like we did at the wastewater treatment plant and we are doing at the water treatment plant, we're working with contractors and we can work with them and require the kinds of things you just mentioned. And we actually get better results when we do that. But again, back to state law and the low bid structure of these kinds of procurements, we are not allowed to require those kinds of things. And so it does hamper us a bit when we're not doing alternative construction.
Well, and just to emphasize the point, I'm not looking to make it more complicated to comply with state law, but you know, anytime we make a choice to focus on one metric, and COVID's just one metric here, right? You risk ignoring some other important factors. And on my time on council, we've had a lot of conversation about COVID, and that tends to be the area of focus. I would just submit that there's other parts of the discussion that should inform policymakers, including the feedback we're giving back to you. And I simply don't even have the data to meaningfully engage on the broader topic. And that's not a complaint. I recognize if you have multiple things you're capturing for every procurement, it increases your administrative burden. I just would submit that that's an area I would have interest in, and if wouldn't be excessively burdensome.
No, I think we can bring some data
We
for
can.
council.
Yes. So for this project and all low bid projects, we do have a workforce training and hiring program requirement. All the contractors have to be training agents, and there are diversity goals, apprenticeship goals, journey level goals within this program. The reason that it's not part of the report is because these numbers occur after contract award. It's not a condition of contract award. And so we don't have the data specific to a project until the project is completed. But it is something that we are monitoring throughout the life of the contract and holding the contractors accountable.
So that's very helpful. What is the current cadence of reporting to council, not just necessarily at a contract level, but by bureau or by, public works, that we can re-engage in that level? Because again, it feels like we talk a lot about COVID and we interact on that in multiple ways but this other area, I don't recall a ton of discussion or report in my time on council, and these are significant to our, to our workforce, collectively speaking. So I was just curious, what is the current reporting on that? And you might think about how you could report back to this council and the next one particularly given it's a rear view mirror, as you're saying. I follow.
So we have not had a regular reporting on workforce successes. It's, data that's included in our annual reports, but it isn't something, to my knowledge, that has been regularly reported back to council, something we can definitely do. I do have a staff member that's currently working with the Open Contracting Data Partnership that is producing dashboards to collect all of this data that will be published for each service area, and is working with all of the bureaus and service areas to enhance the data that's made available and that we can publish online.
And not to put too fine a point on this, but every single time we do a material infrastructure project, we're creating family wage jobs in our region. And it is a good part of the story that we can't lose while we're beating ourselves up on other things that we need to be paying attention to. But every single, $10 million project, much less $100 million project, is generating jobs in this region. And I just don't want us to lose sight of some of the good we're actually doing when we're building.
Commissioner Maps?
Yeah, Commissioner Gonzalez, thank you for raising that question. The question of, does council ever get feedback after we finish a project on what our real world minority contracting numbers look like? And I'll tell you, in full transparency, one of the reasons why I am kind of highlighted this particular issue today is that after 4 years roughly in the infrastructure space, one of the things that I've learned is actually at the end of a project, what your final minority contracting numbers look like are often kind of different from the goals that we thought that we were achieving. Often there is a little bit of deterioration for various reasons as you go about implementing the project. Frankly, often it's rarely to our advantage in terms of what we're trying to achieve in the equity space. As I become more sensitive to this, I frankly become a little bit more critical and skeptical of our practices in this area. We have to do better. I think often in some situations, we pat ourselves on the back for achieving our equity goals, but in practice, those are just paper goals that we celebrate when we approve a project, and we don't really hold ourselves accountable for what happens down the line. We gotta have, for deputy city administrator, we have to have. I think we have to surface exactly these after contract information reporting, because certainly our subcontractors are talking to us about it. Often they feel like they have not had a fair shake, and I think that frankly we fool ourselves and frankly fool the public and some of the minority contracting numbers that we tout and celebrate in this room, and that's bad policy, and it frankly is a violation of the public trust, and we need to do better.
Very good. Any further questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Commissioner Maps moves, Commissioner Ryan seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, who was that? Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yep.
I apologize. Commissioner Gonzalez seconds. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Maps,
This is a tough one for me. Everything I just said is true. I'm deeply concerned about our, number one, achieving our aspirational goals on low bid contracts. I'm increasingly skeptical of the reality of our minority contracting numbers when we're looking at alternative contracting methods, and that is deeply unfortunate. It's also the case that this particular project we absolutely have to do this. Cities don't function if you don't have pump stations that function. It would be politically convenient for me to kind of vote no on this to kind of send a message. But I also think that it's important for my colleagues on council to pass this. I will take some personal responsibility here. I helped get this project to where it is today. Not entirely satisfied with how it's all turned out. I hope to do better moving forward, and I hope that we have all had a rich conversation which has kind of elevated the debate and will let us do better moving forward, which is why I will vote aye.
Rubio.
I appreciate the debate that's happened on this and the conversations. This has been a long-standing issue. But I also know and trust Commissioner Maps because he has been a stalwart advocate for COVID contracting. So if he says it needs to happen, then I believe that. That said, I know that staff have communicated that when the RWIA comes up again for renewal in 2026, that we will look at these gaps because these are serious gaps. We've known it for a long time. But I'm advocating and I'm hoping maybe to work with you about how we can address these things before then and get started on them before then, and how do we get better direction and more accountability for our general contractors around COVID goals, and working with our labor partners to do that. So I vote aye.
Ryan,
Yes, yes to the other metrics that Commissioner Gonzalez mentioned. That needs to be included as well. And clearly we have access to the data, and that's why I asked earlier, why is this information not weighted when making the decision? It seems like we have the agency to live out our city's values and adding this practice to the discipline before making an award. And I think that was one of the outcomes of this discussion, is to move our practices to a better place. I'm clear we could urgently do this project and had better COVID outcomes. I'm just disappointed we aren't meeting the COVID threshold, and I can't undo the testimony I heard. It was the biggest influence we have as a city to operationalize equity is to build generational wealth for those who have been left out of the process, not getting the awards. Construction contracts is where we have the influence to help move people from pre-approval, pre-apprenticeship, to the journey to ownership. Let's align our values with our action. Today on this item, I have to vote no.
Wheeler.
I vote aye. The report's accepted. Thank you. Thanks for your hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, 754, which is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance.
Adopt a citywide outgoing grants administration policy.
Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's almost, it's not good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. On January 30th, 2024, I led a work session on this basic housekeeping and fundamental accounting item, citywide common standards and guidelines for grant awards. Thank you all for your engagement on that day and for the many conversations we've had since. We need universal guidelines to ensure all awards from the city are being spent on organizations who can provide the basics, current financial statements, a list of board members, staff, and most importantly, clarity on the goal with measurable targets to track the investment. Simply put, we want to ensure our taxpayers that we are good stewards with their funds. It bears repeating, this is basic housekeeping and fundamental accountability. Let me remind you that today is not about PSEF and not about the Portland Children's Levy. Those programs both have comprehensive standards and practices that enforce accountability. This is about the acceleration of awards to nonprofit sector over the past couple decades, where outgoing grants that exist in many silos across the city's enterprise, so scattered it was quite difficult actually to get inventory on these awards. These grants are so scattered that we cannot determine how much the awards have increased over the last decades without a manual count. Thank you so much, Sheila, for doing much of that manual counting. I took a manual review, thank you, Sheila, again, to get the numbers we saw back in the January session. It was just unacceptable in 2014, and it's still unacceptable in 2024. It's well past time to adopt basic housekeeping principles and provide the accountability our investors deserve. That would be our taxpayers. As my 4th anniversary on council is near on September 10th, I reflect on the bureaus I've had oversight of: the Housing Bureau, Bureau of Development Services, now Portland Permitting and Development, the Office of Equity and Human Rights, Portland Parks and Recreation, the Office of Community and Civic Life, and the City Arts Program. I was shocked to learn that on all these bureaus, now grouped within city service areas, have different processes for outgoing grants. As my team and I have learned more about this messy, decentralized process, I discovered that many outgoing city grants require far less accountability than what the private foundation or the corporate foundations seek from the nonprofit sector. Until this policy is enacted, the city has not and does not require basic information from its grantees, such as recent financial statements and information about who sits on their board of directors. I know I've spent over 30 years seeking such funds in my development career prior to this public servant role. It just makes no sense that the taxpayer investments in the nonprofit sector have less regulation than the charitable investments have in the same sector. Taxpayers deserve a focus on a return on their investment. City grants are the people's investments, and we are tasked with investing these dollars wisely. These investments are a reflection of our values. This policy establishes common sense oversight and centralized inventory that ensures that we'll track data and measure impact. And thank you for joining us today as we take a council-wide action on a citywide issue, standardizing how we distribute our public dollars via grants as a public entity. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Jonas Byrie, the Deputy City Administrator for Budget and Finance, and Sheila Craig, who I have to pause and just say thank you. We've been having this discussion for a long time, and there's been a lot of players that have moved around you, but you've been there, the sage public servant, moving this forward. I really appreciate your persistence and your patience throughout this process. And so take it away, both of you, and thanks for being here.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon again. Jonas Beery, Deputy City Administrator for Budget and Finance and the city's Chief Financial Officer. We'll just do a quick kind of 5-minute presentation regarding the proposed improvements with, of course, opportunity for Q&A. As the Commissioner said, in large part, this policy codifies processes improvements that are already in place or are well underway as a result of the prior work session. Primary goal of these changes is to improve transparency and efficiency. From an outward-facing perspective to grant recipients, these changes will make for a more consistent and less complicated process. From a more inward-facing perspective to city grant practitioners and other stakeholders, it'll move forward additional tools, training, and resources to simplify the process and increase transparency. I thank Commissioner Ryan and staff for driving this forward for consideration, and we'll hand off to the wonderful and extremely patient Sheila Craig, the city's grant manager.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Sheila Craig, and maybe we can advance a couple more on the slides. And I'm just here to share with you all the wonderful things that will happen after we lay the foundation for this grant policy. So as Commissioner Ryan said, there are 2 programs, PCEF and the Children's Levy, that are not included in this policy. They have their own code, they have their own policy. Also, I wanted to add that Portland Development, going back, PDC is not involved in this as well. They're not in our system, so their grants are not part of this policy as well. So all other city service areas will utilize this new policy, and I like to call it, it's just the foundation, and it's just the beginning of the work that we'll be doing related to the outgoing grant program. Next slide, please. So major changes. The new outgoing grant policy establishes consistent structure for administering city grants and incorporates the new community and grants reporting guidelines. So I would say we have 4 things, and we're gonna have consistency, accountability, transparency, and data. As Commissioner Ryan said, at this point, we have the outgoing grants in our financial system, but it is very hard. We don't have any data associated with those. The reporting is not in one place, so ultimately, all bureaus will be utilizing one system. So we'll have citywide participation, one framework, required reporting, and we'll all be using one system, web grants. Next slide, please. So currently, as I said before, every bureau, we all have our own grant program. We all are doing our own thing. With everyone utilizing web grants, it will be one consistent process for all of our bureaus, and it will be a consistent process for our community partners. So the future will be one grant framework and consistent data and centralized software systems and reports. The Grants Management Division will be working, utilizing this, the grant reporting guidance, so we can have consistent reporting across all the grants. Next slide, please. And as we're talking about the grant framework, program development, RFAs, selection and review, award, monitoring, reporting, and closeout. So we will be able to have information through the entire life cycle of the grant program. I think the next one is questions. No, it is not. So we will be developing tools. So as I said, we laid the foundation with this policy. We'll be developing tools that will be used citywide. We will be training the bureaus on these tools and partnering with Smart City PDX to expand the expansion of the existing reporting. We learned a lot with ARP because working with Smart City PDX, we developed a dashboard for all of the ARP outgoing grants, and so our plan is to do the same thing with this outgoing grant program. We will be developing a dashboard so we can see where our funds are going across the city of Portland and what those funds are being used for. Pretty sure the next one is questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Sheila and colleagues. The floor is yours for questions.
Any questions? Any follow-up? Excellent work. Do we have public testimony?
We do. We have one person signed up.
All right.
John DiLorenzo online.
Welcome, John.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, John.
Well, good afternoon now. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and council members. I'm John DiLorenzo, appearing on behalf of my clients with disabilities in the Tozer versus City of Portland case, which is subject to a settlement agreement with the City of Portland. That agreement in part restricts the city and its contractors from distribution of tents and tarps other than under very specific circumstances. On June 12th, we informed you that during the first year in which the agreement was in place, the joint office nevertheless distributed 6,500 tents and 24,000 tarps, while you were spending vast sums to clean them up. On June 20th, we testified in favor of the Gonzalez amendments to the joint office renewal resolution. The council ultimately placed tents and tarps squarely on its list of look-back items for the upcoming October discussions, which we will follow quite closely. On July 3rd, we informed the city attorney that we considered the city in breach of our settlement agreement for tolerating tent and tarp distribution by its contractors other than in conformity with the agreement. Last month, we began a series of discussions with the city as a precursor to formal mediation. It appears to us that no less than 19 nonprofit organizations which checked out tents and tarps from the joint office for distribution throughout our neighborhoods currently have grant and other contracts with the city. It is apparent that your own contractors and grant recipients are, at least in part, working at cross purposes with you. This proposed ordinance is designed to provide uniform policies for grant recipients. It's one which we generally support, but it should also ensure that the grant recipients respect the policy agreed to in our settlement agreement. We would like to propose that section D, as in Delta 2, in the proposed policy, make clear that in addition to ensuring compliance with the laws and policies stated in that paragraph, that the grant recipients also be required to comport their tent and tarp distribution policies to that adopted by the city pursuant to our settlement agreement. Enabling those who are addicted and in need of mental health treatment to live outdoors is not compassion. Your grant recipients should be part of the solution, not a cause of part of the problem. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, John.
That completes testimony.
All right. Any further questions, discussion on this item?
I just have a quick question based on what we just heard. So I assume that grants must comply with city policy, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Just to put a point on that, D2 currently says guidance including City of Portland policy. I mean, it's explicit in your proposed language. I think one of the challenges is, will applicants be familiar with the settlement? And if we don't require them to certify or we don't notify them, how could we even collect that information, right? Or how could we sort of trigger the necessary discussion about that or any other city policy that might be implicated here?
We should know it from their scope of work. I'm not aware of any of the grants that the Grants Management Division has awarded was for that purpose. So I think it is really your grant managers across the city need to be aware of city policy. And when they're developing those grant agreements and they're developing the criteria for the application, that they need to assure that everyone is in compliance with city policy.
Well, and here's the challenge. Even if the grants aren't related to tent or tarp distribution, a reading of our settlement agreement on the ADA lawsuit, and I'm saying a reading because I'm not ceding this as the objective truth, but is that we're obligated to assure our contractors aren't distributing tents and tarps other than except as in compliance with our settlement there, and that's extremely limited. So even though we're giving some ABC nonprofit a grant to do watering trees. If that same nonprofit is involved in tent distribution, there's an argument that that doesn't comply with our ADA settlement. So I just don't know how your grants team is going to track this. I mean, it's like, and the list that Mr. De Lorenzo referred to, I have not seen that list. I'd kind of like to see it. I'll have my office reach out to him. But what, if I understood him correctly, he's identified in his team 19 grant recipients of city grants that have also distributed tents and tarps provided by the Joint Office of Homelessness. So I don't even know how you connect the dots. So, a long way of saying, I do think your language says, addresses city policy. I just have zero idea how you're going to implement this.
And I guess the question would be, we would also have this with contracts. So we try to keep the word grant separate from procurement contracts. But I guess we could have that same issue with our contracts and with our grant agreements. But you're correct. I mean, we could also be giving money to the joint office and an IGA, and then the joint office could be giving funds to 20 grantees. And so you're correct. It's going to be hard to tie that out to knowing what each organization is spending their funds on. And yeah, how do we tie that back?
And, my office and Commissioner Ryan's office have had a little bit of dialogue on this subject, and I didn't know the 19 or the source of that number, but I guess maybe between first reading and coming back, if we have an idea of what other policies could be implicated by the bottom in D2, right, this general language including City of Portland policy, I'm just trying to figure out, is the settlement agreement, how does that fit with other policies that might be implicated, and how do you actually operationalize this? Because this is extremely frustrating, right? We're spending all this money on cleanup. We have folks that are continuing to distribute tents and tarps. They're also separately receiving city dollars, and that's painful. And they're distributing tents and tarps in a way that is inconsistent with our obligations to members of the disabled, those suffering from disability and from that community. And so I just don't know how we're going to operationalize it. But can you think of other policies that would be implicated by this language, like other policies that would be applicable to grant recipients across the board?
Well, like Title VI, which is one, right, that we're putting in our grant agreement. So we do, like some, like federal regulations, we will put those in our grant agreements. But honestly, I had not thought about when you have something removed like that, like it's not specific to the scope of work they're doing, but
Right.
it could be work that they're doing outside of the scope of work they're doing for the grant agreement.
I mean, there is a whole separate question as to whether a grant recipient is a contractor as defined in the settlement agreement. And I'm not necessarily ceding that point to Mr. De Lorenzo. We'll let him and the city attorney argue over that question. But the point being, this is an area where we have some theoretical control. They are getting city dollars, and should we be using that to have them adhere to policies of the city?
And my guess is this is not the only situation that we would have similar to this. I'm guessing we have more than just this one that could be applicable.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm good, and Commissioner Ryan, maybe you and I can further discuss this over the next week. I know there's been some discussions to date on it. I just,
Commissioner
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, pivoting a bit, in this new form of government, which we're practicing today, actually, having a council member bring something, and then council members who don't have executive oversight any longer could make such a request to say, Sheila, could you come back in 3 months and just give us an update on how implementation's going? So just a brief report at council.
Sure.
Okay, we'll track that. Thank you so much.
Great. If that concludes questions, we already had public testimony. So this is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Last item of the morning is blissfully a second reading. Item number 755, please.
Amend regulation of lobbying entities code to align with the amended city charter approved by voters in Portland Measure 26-228.
This is a second reading. We've had testimony. We've also had a presentation. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I appreciate the work by the Auditor's Office in updating the proposed code language. I think that they've done a good job of addressing one of the areas of concern, sort of the gotcha problem of folks who positively engage with the city of Portland in a pre-bid process. I still think there's some risk that we're going to have folks run into this language that would have never thought they would be subject to lobbying requirement, given the type of interaction and perspective vendor would be having with a governmental entity. So I just think we need to watch it and track it and see how this plays out. There are bad actors who abuse these rules to harass folks that they disagree with politically, and we just can't facilitate that. But notwithstanding that concern, I am appreciative of the changes here, and I vote aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
All right, we're all hungry. I had a lot to say here, but I'll just say aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you.